right. I think we're good. All right. Welcome, everybody. We are the Film Field. I'm Jack. This is Shane and Q. And today we're going to be doing a mock draft. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty fantastic. There was a lot going into this draft, so I am quite excited to talk about it.
Yeah, there's
Oh
maybe
yeah, we
about,
all got different takes, so it's
Very
gonna be an
different takes.
interesting conversation to say the
Well, we
least.
don't really know if we have all have different takes. We might all have the same draft for what it
It's a good
is, but
point. It's a
we
good
also
point.
we also spent
yeah.
like 2 hours setting this up of just talking to figure it out. Like it is basically setting up the stream and then getting all of our takes out that we don't actually want to say yet on the podcast. I think that works pretty well. But yeah, before we get really deep into the actual draft stuff, the most important thing that happened this week, obviously, is the Dexter Lawrence thing. So I want to get into that really quickly first. Before we do get deep into it, I want to like throw it to you guys first about what you think in general about the trade because I have like complicated feelings overall, on it, especially as a Giants fan. But I want to throw it to both of you guys first.
Absolutely. I mean, as a Steelers fan, I definitely hated the trade from that angle. Oh, great. Another game where I'm going to be miserable watching my quarterback, whoever it may be, since that's still to be determined, run around for his life on the field. But, the more I think about it, the more it just shows how devalued this draft class is overall to be willingly giving away a top 10 pick for a player that wasn't signed long term. And then ultimately the extension they extended him for was
1 year,
another year.
1 year.
Yeah,
You
pretty
know,
wild.
and it's from the team that refused to pay the other guy that wanted paid. So I just find it all very, very interesting for sure. And today is Monday when we're recording this. So watching that intro video for him walking up and observing the field and everything doesn't make me feel very confident in their decision.
Something is really hilarious about him going into like the Bengals stadium and being like, I got chills. You got chills at the Cincinnati Bengals stadium. That's an iconic moment, but whatever.
A lot of aura.
Yeah. What about you, Q?
I think it's interesting. I think you could definitely consider it being devaluing to the draft. I think in a lot of ways it is. It is very strange to trade that for tenth pick. But I think it allows the Giants to do a lot long term. To be honest with you, I think there's a lot of holes on that roster, and I think they would primarily be looking to fill the defense. But I think now you have a chance to maybe, and I don't want to cheat too much on my draft, maybe do the offense as well. So. I think it does give you some room to work, and I think long term it could really benefit the Giants. So I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards the Giants winning that one, but I don't know. I think there's still a lot to discuss with it. I think we'll definitely see in the next few days.
For sure. Like when it first dropped, I was pretty annoyed because for me, like the Dexter Lawrence situation, this has been going on since like last year. Like last year, at the beginning of the year, you could tell he was kind of out. This year was obviously weird being like his most down year. Now, I think it was a bit over exaggerated. I don't think he's like washed or anything like that. I think he's still a very elite player. I just think this was a situation where he had those injuries the year prior. That still seemed like it lingered. Along with that, like I think he was just mentally out of it, which is a whole other conversation. If you want to penalize him for that, that's fair. But I think beyond that, I think it was just like this dude's talent is still there. He just does not care about being in New York. That was the reality. Like every day, it was like interviewers and reporters and getting real like snippy, basically being like, "I'm doing my job, no one else is doing theirs," like kind of implying that. You could just tell he was kind of mentally out of it. And I think by this point, everyone kind of saw it coming, but it's frustrating because some people see the conversation as the Giants weren't willing to pay him. But the Giants were willing to pay him. He just did not want to be there. They were matching the same offers that Cincinnati gave him. The fact that they gave him a 1 year deal, and that was fine enough for him, the way he's talking about it all, shows that this wasn't like a, hey man, the Giants wouldn't pay me what I needed. Like that's just kind of how the cookie crumbles. Like, no, it was very clear like I don't want to be here. I want to go somewhere where I'm valued, and he thinks there's like a future for the franchise. I don't know why that's Cincinnati, but it is.
I was gonna say that's an interesting landing point for that
The do
reason.
or die season that Joe Burrow is currently going to be
Sure,
going into.
but I get it in terms of like wanting like a new fresh start. That's fine. Whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's not about Cincinnati being a great spot. It's about not wanting to be in New York. And I think the way Cincinnati has drafted makes me feel more confident in them making this move because I think they would have been thinking about reaching at that point. I think they realized that if they are not solidified on taking a true, like this guy can match the quality that Dexter Lawrence would be as a player, like a Caleb Downs, a Sony Styles, something like that, if they felt like they weren't going to make the right pick there, pulling the trigger on a guy you already know is good is the right move there, because I think they know that they would have probably gotten weird with that pick. I think most people know they would have probably gotten weird with that pick. Last year, Shamar Stewart, Tyree Snipe, that was like their top picks. I imagine that kind of going the same here. And even if they did get Downs, the fact that it's like a question about if they would take him there is enough for me to pull the trigger and be like, let's stop you from making a mistake and just pick a guy you know is. And for the Giants, he wanted out. So if you can get the 10th pick out of that, that's really, really good, right? Like he was not going to stay. So that's where I am on that conversation.
Definitely. First round value anytime, but top 10, like that's done. Like it doesn't matter the player most of the time. It's that's usually where the conversation ends. I am curious, Jack, did you see the report that Harbaugh wasn't allowed to speak to Lawrence? Like his agent blocked all communication?
I did. I kind of believe it. That checks out. I feel like, well, a lot of the times with these agents, they're really the ones playing aggressive about this.
Right.
They're the like, we don't even want to talk until the number's up. Don't even give us something. So like, I kind of believe it. You know what I mean? And I think also Harbaugh is the kind of guy that's like, if you're not in, I want you like out. Like he's not the kind of guy that's like, if you're an elite player, I'm gonna go full desperation mode to keep you here, even if it means a very awkward year right now. Like he's not the guy. Like he's very old school. Like if you're not all in, get out. Like that's the kind of guy he is, and that checks out.
Yeah.
For cool, bye.
Definitely felt like a statement on his part on some level as like what to expect from this team.
For sure. And so for me, I end up landing in the sense that like I think it was good for both teams. He wanted out. It seemed inevitable. If you're going to get anything out of that, if it's the 10th pick, that's pretty great. And for Cincinnati, you're getting a surefire player. Like I can't think of a lot of players that are better than Dexter Lawrence that would be there at number 10, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so that's where I end up landing there. We'll see how it ends up going. I don't think it's going to transform their defense as much as some people want to pretend it will. Their linebackers still suck. That's still a lot of young players, and their best players that they've drafted recently are aging players or developmental edge rushers like Shamar Stewart. So I'm not very in on this defense, but it's a move I understand in terms of like, if you had to take someone at 10, would you take Dexter Lawrence at 10? Probably. So that's the framing I see it from. But
I'm curious, how do you think about the contract framing? Just signing him to 1 year does seem like a bit odd to me.
It's pretty dumb. That's where I start to get like very out on the situation, because you went to all these lengths to not pay Hendrickson last year.
Yeah.
And then like it was a whole fiasco. Like it was a whole thing. It's not like this was like a quiet development.
Carried into this offseason.
Yeah, exactly. Carried into this offseason. It was a big deal. And so like for that to be a whole saga, just for you to come around and be like, well, no, we'll take Dexter Lawrence with the 10th overall pick. And then also after that, like only sign him to a 1 year deal. It's a very like, I'm not sure they know what they're doing process-wise outside of like, we know that Dexter Lawrence would be a better player than whoever we would ultimately try to see translate to the NFL at number 10. I get that. That makes sense. I still think they're stuck in their ways. It
reads desperate to me. It reads as, don't fire me just yet. Let me see what I can do. And, I'm curious to see the breakdown of the contract too, right? How the guaranteed money attached to it and when exactly it kicks in. Like if he's got added money to the first 2 years. Because for him to take that extension was just as curious. Like, did he have a no movement clause of any kind? Like, did he have any control in this situation? It doesn't seem like it.
Not really sure, no. Yeah, but I do wonder if your long-term goals are to keep him, because this is going to become a saga next year. Like, it's going to be. To me, I think the ultimate thing is maybe Dexter is like a lot more willing to like talk more in depth about taking pay cuts or whatever it is in terms of being a Cincinnati, because I think it's less about the money and it's more about not wanting to be in New York. Like that's the thing that I think a lot of people are having a hard time having the conversation around, because so many people wanted to be like, why didn't the Giants just pay him? They tried to. He didn't want to be here. Like it's not a matter of Jay Shane. Like I get Jay Shane's got his problems, but it's not a matter of they don't want to be Dexter Lawrence. They already paid him once. It's a matter of the fact that like he doesn't want to be here for the same money that would be matched by Cincinnati. Like to me, it's more like he's willing to take a pay cut or be more flexible with his choices in Cincinnati than he would in New York. That's really what it comes down to. And so if that's the case, there's not much you can do outside of that than either release the guy or trade him and get some kind of value. And I thought maybe they'd get like a late first from somebody if some kind of weird trade happened from somebody else, you know? So I think it's best case scenario of the situation. It sucks Dexter Lawrence is not on your team, but it is a positive that you got this out of it.
And hey, if the next best offer was what Cleveland was offering reportedly in that second round pick, home run for the Giants then. They really did a great job getting value out of that.
100%.
But it also creates a fallout in the draft itself, right? With the 5 and the 10, which I'm sure we all went in different directions on, as we'll discuss. But, that affects a lot of the other teams after the fact too. The domino effect of this. It's gonna be fun to watch play out.
Especially because now, like, there's so many avenues New York's going to go, I think. Like, with Cincinnati, I don't really know what the consensus overall was. Like, I saw some drafts where people thought Downs would fall in that spot, maybe something like that. So it's like I do wonder the landscape of things. What does that change? Because, if the Giants end up going a lot of, like, full defensive overhaul, go Sony Styles at 5, go with Downs at 10. Does that change the way that teams want to trade up or trade down? Right? Like, was there a different framing in mind of the way that Cincinnati was going to pick at 10 versus New York now with 2 picks? Like, does that make it look more like number 5 is going to be like best player available? Like, does it make it so they're like, screw it? At number 5, we're just going to take Jeremiah Love because we had the 10th pick and we're just going to take somebody else anyways. Like, we don't care. Like, we can spend that pick on Love and then also get, like, now we know at guard or whatever it is that they think.
Well, that's the most ridiculous part about that situation is the fact that they have 2 top 10 picks out of this. You know what I mean? I could understand this a little bit more if New York was a team that was outside the top 10, but to do it like this, it really does give you that much more freedom to do what you want. But
100%.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, so I'm very curious to see how that ends up playing out. But do you guys want to get into our drafts here?
Absolutely.
I think I'm ready.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So the way we ended up doing this, most people when they do the mock drafts, they end up going, if there's 3 hosts or anything like that, you're usually taking turns taking picks, right? The way we did it is we all did an individual mock draft. And what we're going to do is compare them all and talk about the players in terms of where did we take them, what was the value, all that stuff. What did we view about them? That way we're having a conversation about the prospects, but also just about the way we think the board will play out. Because I don't know entirely how you guys did it, but I thought in mine it was like what I would do, but also mixed with what I think they would do, right? Like, so it was
absolutely
that's where
I
landed
fell as well.
Yeah, so that's where I came from with it. So I think we're starting the very obvious, very, very obvious number one. That's like that's not really like worth the. We can get into Mendoza if you want to. Like, let's start with Shane because you're the highest on Mendoza if you want to.
I just think when you look at what the Raiders, who ended up with the first overall pick, need the most, it's quarterback, and what quarterback makes the most sense? The Heisman winner, the Natty champ, the ultimate leader. At the combine, his size, like everything you want in a guy. Right. And then he had a great interview on top of that as well. He's coming in healthy. I do think that the plan right now with that Cousins contract is to start him slow, which I think is perfectly fine. Right. You're not trying to win a Super Bowl next season. It's going to take some time, but I think that's a step in the right direction and it makes by far the most sense.
For sure. Q, I know you're probably of the 3 of us the lowest, I feel like maybe.
Yeah, I will tell you, I really think the attributes are there. I mean, he's a dude, like just size-wise, hand size-wise, he kind of fits all the physical features you really want to. But I think a lot of it is a relative situation. I think there are a lot of drafts where he would not necessarily be first overall, and that's really not taking anything away from the kid because he definitely deserves to be here. And like you said, who else do you draft but the national champion who also won the Heisman, But there's just some things I don't necessarily love from his films. I think his reads can be a little bit awkward also.
It's heavy RPO stuff. Yeah.
The Miami fan is saying this, by the way, for anyone listening.
Exactly. So, nothing personal. But
a little bit of salt in these comments.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. A Miami and a Raiders fan, so take that into account. But
very good point.
But I think the potential is definitely there. I'm very curious a lot on the Raiders' part and how they choose to develop him. I think, like you said, the Kirk contract is a step in the right direction. I think it is better for him to maybe kind of sit down and develop a little bit before you kind of just throw him into the Wolves. But like I said, I think the potential is there, and I think there are quarterbacks I would be more comfortable in different drafts. But I think he has potential to exceed 100%.
For sure. And like the thing with me is I'm probably in the middle ground on Mendoza where it's I have him as like a tier 2 prospect. So tier 1 for me is like, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Joe Burrow, the upper echelon, like number 1 overall pick. And that's not to say I wouldn't take a tier 2 quarterback number 1 overall. Like Cam Ward was a tier 2 guy for me, top of tier 2. Totally fine with him number 1. Same thing with Mendoza. It's just a different level of quarterback, right? And I think it's okay to say that. With Mendoza, I am a fan. I actually am more in the ballpark that I think he could just start immediately. With him, I think that he's going to bring to the table, obviously, the high-level processing. We talked about this off air, but like I think his Cal tape shows a lot more of the actual truly going through your reads moments of his career. Like I think you're seeing a lot more processing on the field. It's not to say that anything is doing anything bad, right? Heavy RPO system makes complete sense for college football. But when it comes to translation to the NFL, even though that can be a part of your system, it gets a little bit hard to end up looking at what are the traits, what is the real production here, what is he truly seeing on the field. When you look at the Cal tape, it's a lot more clear. Like for me, summer scouting, I had Mendoza as my QB1. I was super high on Mendoza. I thought he looks good at Cal, so I feel vindicated at that. But I still think that in terms of what he brings to the table, there is a ceiling athletically, and it's not a bad one. I've compared him to Matt Ryan. I think that's probably the best comp for him. I've seen some people go Kirk Cousins, which is funny, but I don't know if he does that similar out of play.
Personality comp, maybe.
I was about to say.
Personality comp for sure. But like I think in terms of play, it's Matt Ryan for sure. And I think in terms of him starting this year, I think you should because you're wasting very valuable years of Brock Bowers and JT who you decided to take high. And if that's the case, get them rapport, get them reps, right? I think it's okay for him to struggle this year and have a difficult year. I think it's okay to put him through the Cam Ward experiment in a way, because when they do get that high pick next year, you look at receiver, Cam Coleman, Jeremiah Smith, like those options will be available, right? It's not about becoming elite this year or anything like that. But I do think in terms of him just getting his feet wet and being in a more like pro style offense, it's going to be important for him. So, obvious number 1 pick to me, like we don't have to spend that much time on it. I tend to view him as like a tier 2 quarterback prospect. He's not like one of the best I've ever seen, but he's a very good one and worth the first overall pick to me.
And he's tier 1 for Bible study.
He's tier 1.
Yeah, he's dedefinitely going to have an elite Bible study with Kirk Cousins in that locker room.
Yeah, he's tier 1 for Chick-fil-A employee. He's
He's serviceable.
Yeah, real honorable guy, man. Real.
I'm curious though. Do you think he would have been first round last year?
That's the conversation right now. I have him a tick below Ward. He probably would have gone. I don't remember who's number 2 that year, but whoever needed a quarterback after that, he would have gone. But I think Ward would have gone over him. There's probably a conversation about like high floor versus low floor, right? Like I think Ward's floor is lower just because of the volatility, but I think that Mendoza's floor is higher. But then vice versa, Ward's ceiling's higher. I think Mendoza's ceiling's smaller. So it just depends on who's picking number 1 overall. I still kind of think Tennessee would have gone number 1 overall. I think like Brian Callahan before he got fired probably. That's probably still his style of guy. If you're talking about even this year's regime, I think Dayball would have been pounding the table for Ward. Like he would have had input with Saleh. Like I think that would have definitely been the case. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This is where things will get different.
This is where things will get different because we definitely went very different here in regards to pick number 2. So do you guys want to let's go in order? Like Q.
Well, I know who yours isn't.
You go.
I will go ahead and I will tell you my pick number 2. I think the New York Jets are going to be selecting Arvell Reese. I will preface this by saying I think he is probably going to switch to edge full time, and I really do think the defensive line kind of needs that help a lot, actually. So, yeah, I really went defensive on this one. I really like the kid from what I've seen, especially kind of size-wise. But, yeah, I think he's going to be a fantastic fit on the edge of that line, So
you went Reese. You went Reese.
Reese.
That was after a lot of, competition. I was really close on Bailey. I will tell that. But you kind of convinced me a little bit.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
I did like Reese. Reese.
Shane, what about you?
I went Bailey, and it's for the reasons Q said, just the opposite direction, right? I am not buying the smokescreen they put out there by not having him on a visit, right? I know a lot of people are taking that into account, but look, the report that came out right after was they knew everything they needed to know. Okay, they need an edge rusher desperately. They need to revamp that line. He is a full-time edge rusher. There's no debate of what position he's going to play and the production that he can bring right out the gate.
For
I
sure.
think I also got Jack to agree that he could get 10 sacks easily in his first season. It's
I
not
agree.
out of question, right?
No, not at all.
So because of that, I think that is the first wrench in this this podcast. Is I'm going David Bailey at 2. Now, if they go Reese, am I going to be like, no? I totally understand the thought process behind it, but I think that they go safe, and there's nothing wrong with safe sometimes when it's solid like David Bailey.
Here's where I'll push back on it, because I didn't expect Q for you to have Reese. I thought maybe you'd go Bailey. So I'm glad you're with me. So here's where I am on it though. I don't mind safe. For me, Bailey's like a top 10 player in the class, top 12, top 15. Like I am not super low on Bailey, but I'm very anti-Bailey. Like I stood by this. The problem and the reason why I'm like this is because of the fact that at its core, if you're trying to look for a high upside in a draft like this that is weekly at the top, I just am not going to be investing in a guy that is mostly speed to power, doesn't have a lot of wind, and ultimately struggles with run defending. If I'm trying to chase the highs of what my defense can be and I'm picking number 2, I'm picking a guy that's like a tweener type, a guy that can play both linebacker and edge. And the crazy thing about Reese is he's a very good linebacker, like a really, really good linebacker.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
It
so
was even really close for me with him and Sony in terms of just like who the premier defensive player is, but I really think it's Reese. Something about him is just kind of special. But
Oh, so you debated on Styles at 2 as well?
I was considering it.
there
honestly.
was some in my
Yeah.
brain.
I
Like,
really
you know,
like Styles. I feel like he fit in kind of an awkward position, especially because of that Giants trade, honestly. But it was definitely in the runnings for me.
and that's the thing. Like with Reese, I think why he has that edge over Bailey is I think athletically he's much different. But beyond that, you're getting a guy who's both a elite linebacker, probably day one, and then also a guy that can develop an edge. But here's the thing: if you listen to his interview with Ben Solak, he talking about the fact that he's like, I'm making up my moves most of the time. He's like, nobody taught me how to play edge. Like they weren't showing him that at Ohio State. They weren't, right? And you can see in the way he plays edge. It's really like trial and error freestyling. And that makes such a difference for the way I look at his projection for playing edge, because he can decide to not play edge and play full-time linebacker and still too. Like that's the level of player I think he is, because I think even at that, you can blitz with him, you can do a lot of hybrid defense stuff. But on top of that, for him to be that level of linebacker, and then also on top of that, be as good as he was as an edge while still knowing almost nothing about the position. Like Abdul Carter only played edge for like 2 years in college. Like he was really only just getting into it. And I may be wrong. I think his last year was full-time edge for the first time. Like he was incredible. And he had only that amount of time to play the position. Reese has even less experience there. And he looks like a way, way better athlete in a different way. Carter's a lot more agile, a lot more bendy, but like Reese, physicality-wise, a lot stronger, right? And I think if that's what you're betting on, the upside of what he can become as an edge rusher is very clear and very obvious. And whereas with Bailey, I know what he can be. I know what the extent of that can be, and I think it can be good. But the upside you're chasing with Reese is like arguably number 1 player in the draft, like potential. Like I think that's what you're chasing. I like Bailey. I struggle with how much he struggles to bend. I don't feel like he did that great against better tackles. When I watched him against Utah, he struggled. I wasn't a big fan of that. And when it was usually lower level competition, he looks better. Like his speed and power is great. I think that's his calling card. I think that's how he's going to get the most out of like really poor tackles. And I think he'll do a great job. Like again, a really great piece. I just struggle with it at 2. That's where I push back.
And I think ultimately in that war room, there's going to be some debate to be had. They're probably going to go down to the wire with who they end up picking. I think at the end of the day, there's really not a wrong choice between the 2 guys either. Like, I don't think choosing one over the other is going to cost anybody their job. That's what I think.
I don't think it's going to cost anyone their job, but I can see you looking back like, oh my God, why didn't we just take Reese? Like,
hindsight's always 20/20, Jack.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I stand very firm on the belief that I do think it'd be a mistake with Bailey. And it's not in the sense that I'm so down on Bailey. It's just the number 2 overall pick for you to be picking him. like to frame it in the right way, it would be like if it was 2023 and you took like let's say like Jordan Addison in the top 10. It's like I like the player, but whoa, I'm not in on that reach. Like I like the player, but like not at that point, you know.
Right.
I'm not saying he's like Addison quality. I think he's more of like a 2 edge rusher. Like, but I would not be able to sit with that choice. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have more about it, but if not, we can go to 3.
I think for me, honestly, in making that decision, I was honestly kind of close on Bailey as well. It really kind of came down to attributes. And kind of like you said, I think that Reese, although like he is somebody who's going to have to convert to that position, I just think he's a little bit more solid in that. And I think he will be kind of a more plug and play guy inevitably. So yeah, that's really what it came down. But it's like you said, it's so close that I can't imagine one being a bust or something. I don't think it's gonna cost somebody's like
Agreed.
their job,
I
like you
100%
said,
agree.
you know. But yeah, I just feel like Reese was the more solid pick in my mind.
Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you guys have more on that. If not,
No, dude, and this is where my draft gets wild. I'm
I'm
the
ready
only
to
one,
hear it.
spoilers, I'm the only one of the 3 that decided to do some trades and do some fun stuff. But I actually have screenshots to send to Jack of just like the value calculator, just to show you guys that my thinking isn't crazy in the value given up.
Okay.
Right. So,
All
Can
right.
I get a little
Yeah.
little foreshadowing as to when these trades kind of come in?
Now?
yeah.
You don't gotta tell me now.
Okay.
Now? Yeah. Okay.
You want to, yeah, I got some trades and, you know,
No,
the trade
tell
alert-
me-
the trade alert's going off right now on the ESPN banner for me.
Oh, okay. We have
The
breaking
Arizona
news.
Cardinals, the reports were true. They moved down.
Okay.
Miami moved up. But not
Mm.
only did Miami move up, Miami moved up with pick 30.
Okay.
Then they threw in, and they decide to almost punt their entire 26 draft. They don't love this class. And they give up 43, 75, 87, and 90 in exchange for pick 3 to take the edge rusher that they're going to be replacing in Phillips and Orville Reese.
Interesting.
I don't know about that one, son.
Interesting.
That's something. Wow.
Interesting. So I want to ask you, do you feel like the value of trading up to 3-4 Reese? Do you feel like that's like
I think that Miami's at a point where anything is better than what they have, and they might as well swing for the fences. And focusing in on the 27 draft and season makes a lot of sense for where they're at as a team and as a franchise, and just establishing their own culture and stuff with the new coaching staff, a new GM, a new everything, really, right? And just trying to get past the previous era. Now, do I think that's going to happen exactly like that? No. But, you know, I'm trying to have a little bit of fun here, and I think that would be a really fun pairing as well.
it would be cool as fuck. I mean, Jeff Hafley with is awesome.
I feel like it's a bit odd to me because I feel like the one thing that Miami's riding on is just the sheer amount of picks that they have right now, you know? So to kind of throw that away for that's a very, very interesting trade. But I like that for the fun of it, you know?
Here's where I'm at.
Exactly.
I think if you're chasing upside, I get it because I think if you
Yeah.
get Reese, he'd be incredible, especially with
And that's a
that.
cornerstone for your
I don't
franchise
know.
moving forward, new culture
100%.
established.
Agreed.
I think
my-
Miami's so lacking though. I don't know if you can just chase upside. I think
And
you need
that's-
the shared depths of position. I think you need those guys. You need those bodies. You know, like
I
it kind of
absolutely
reminds
think that's fair, but it also shows how much that GM of that team believes in the 27 class, and also ultimately commits to that tank.
So that's
yeah,
where
no, that is the commitment.
So that's where I'm gonna like push back a bit on it because I think they have like what 4 third-round picks. It's like 4. It's like a lot of third-round
It's a lot.
Oh yeah, oh
And
yeah.
a lot of the mock draft sites, there is such insane talent there. Like if you're just trying to fill holes with starters or developmental guys and role players, for me, I love the idea of them getting Reese. But I just think if that's going to end up being the price, I'd rather them just spread fire and get as many starters as they can because I do think rounds 2 to 3 is enough to get guys who can start. Like I remember seeing a few drafts that were like, what if Ted Hurst goes? Like that's a guy that's developmental. could not
Sure.
work out for sure, but that's a guy you
Yeah.
should. Jalen Tolbert is their wide receiver one. Something's got to change, right? Like something's got to change. And so,
Well,
like,
if you'll notice in my trade, they kept 11.
which I'm curious to see. Curious.
That's
Yes.
fair too.
Yeah.
I think the one other thing I will add to that, though, I think the fact of signing Malik Willis does show that you have some urge to not win now. Obviously, I don't think Miami's really going
Right.
to be a contender this year, but you wanna show that you can put a solid roster together. You know,
For
but
sure, for sure.
I think
Sure.
it's a very very fun idea. You know,
It's a question of does the value of Reese alone equate to better than the maybe average starters that you would get across the board if you
Right.
do fire, right? Like, do you care that much about getting guys you think are okay, but like could blossom into something versus like a guy you know will be great? Allow yourself to be bad and get better picks next year. So like,
Exactly.
I get the framing. I think I would still stick with the depth that you'd end up getting from this class, but I do get where you're coming from with that. So
And that's all I'm trying to do, boys, is just throw that wrench out there.
yeah, like I
Gotta make
get
it fun.
it. I do.
Gotta make it fun.
So now I got to ask Q, where'd you go with number 3?
I was for the Cardinals, I got Francis Mauigoa. I really think that O-line is lacking a bit, and I think at some point they're obviously going to have to inquire their new quarterback, and I think they want to make that a lot more of a seamless transition. And I really do love Mauigoa all around, honestly.
Sure.
The physical attributes and just like I think it really does speak to the development of what Mario Cristobal has been able to kind of do with this unit, but also just like God, like the speed to strength ratio is unbelievable with this kid, and I think
sure.
I think it's actually a very very interesting pick for Arizona, and I think he's a guy who's going to be there for a long time. I could not.
I
I
have a
will
question.
say.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will say, like, in terms of offensive linemen, I think you can argue that maybe Fano might even be a little bit more put together, or the guy out of Penn State, I'm kind of blanking on his name.
Vega.
But I think Mauigoa is going to be the most consistent and solid in this draft.
Can I ask you, do you see him as a guard or a tackle? Like, are you drafting him to be Arizona's tackle or guard? Because they have Paris Johnson. Their other tackles not
At 3?
You see him as guard.
Yeah, he did mention. I think he's going to end up being a. I think he's a bit of a hybrid. I really do think he's capable of playing those two positions. But he did very much in an interview say, "Hey, I'm here to play whatever position you need me to. I want to contribute to my team." So I would take that in stride, and I would really just kind of go for that pick and see wherever he ends up at, just guard as or tackle.
Well,
I think he's
that's
gonna.
the thing. Like, he's got a great build. Like, I'm like looking at my notes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, he's
Yeah.
a huge build. He's
Well, if you're drafting him at 3, though, Jack, it's got to be for a tackle.
and that's where I differ because I don't see him as a tackle. I see him as a guard. I see him as a really elite guard. I see him as a developing, maybe struggling a bit tackle. You know, like I can see what the upside can be, but I think there's arm length concerns. I think that's the case for him. I think his technique can be a little bit off sometimes. I think his hand usage is raw. Like I'm looking at some of my notes for him. Like I said, over aggressive in pass sets, and that leads to him compromising his base. Like I think a lot of the times he tries to set up and he ends up kind of like overdoing it or overly aggressive. But I think that's something that you can allow to be a problem as a guard, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can overset as a guard. Like as a guard, you are getting inside help. You have the tackle on your right. But I would rather him there, and I think he could get the most out of his aggression and athletic build and frame. Whereas tackle, I could see like a really petty guy, maybe like throwing him for a loop once in a while. Like, God, what was
That's
this?
fair.
Yeah. God, I forgot what game it was. I think it was one of the playoff games. I'm blanking so hard, but I remember seeing him almost get beat a few times against a few high-level pass.
I do remember. I forget the name from the edge from Texas A&M, Cassius Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did give him a little bit of problems, so I can see that. But I do think he will translate eventually to that tackle position. But I definitely do see the concern.
Yeah. I don't know how you feel, Shane, about Maui Noah versus like guard versus tackle.
I know that if I'm drafting somebody at 3, I'm drafting my franchise tackle if I'm using that kind of value there. So that makes me think, for your pick, that's not the direction you went.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair assessment.
But Q, you see him as a tackle now, or you see him as?
I think I could see him
You said
transitioning.
hybrid, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him being used a lot in a lot of those Miami spring practices and stuff on both positions and hearing great stuff. So I think it's possible, but I think that does leave some stuff to be considered. The things you guys are bringing up.
And there's mental things. Like I thought about maybe if he could transition to center, but I think he's got like process.
Yeah, I don't know about center.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
process.
that
He's
does
got
feel like a
process
little bit.
speed problems a little bit. Like
Center would be insane.
Yeah.
he's huge, dude. I don't know.
Yeah,
to
like that
back
would be
on.
that'd
Yeah.
be crazy.
Yeah.
And,
I
I almost wanna
that
see it.
necessarily.
Yeah, I know it's kind of fun, but
Like
like,
I was like, whoa.
but I don't want a center who can't really like pick up on blitzes a lot. Like I think that's one of his concerns. Like again, I think a lot of these concerns can be condensed if he is a guard. I don't think he'll like be a failure at tackle. I just think you'll see a lot more. It's kind of how I felt with like Campbell, where it's like, yeah, he could last at tackle like last year, but I'm like, he's gonna get beat, and it's gonna be like loud and aggressive, and that's exactly what it ended up being in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the
Against,
growing
like,
pains were very real.
Yeah, against not a really premier pass rusher. Like they have like a rotation going on in Seattle. Like, it's not really like a number one guy, and so like I do really love Marinoa. I see him as a guard. Now in a class like this, would I take him super high? Yes. Still,
Is that who you took at 3?
No. So who I took at 3 is Stoney Styles. So I took
Oh.
Wow.
I took Stoney Styles. I took Stoney
Okay.
Styles.
Okay.
So the reason I ended up taking Styles is because I think overall, I don't know where you guys have him ranked on your like boards overall, like how you feel him as a player. Like, I know when it comes to linebacker and safety, the conversation ends up being one where it's like, oh, well, where's the value? You have to make sure you get that value for. Do you guys
Exactly.
think he's like a top 5 player in this class?
I have him right outside in my mock. Right outside.
I had him around 5'6"-ish. So about the same as Shane.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing with
Strictly
Styles,
based on value though, Jack. Like that's it. Like this guy is a freak athlete. No one is denying
Yeah.
the abilities or anything, but it's just when you look at the value calculator of
Yeah.
an
100%.
NFL team, like that's all that it is.
It was
For me-
also just very much about what teams needed in front of him. You know what I mean?
100%,
He was one of those
yes.
guys that had slipping a little bit lower than his value, but the team that was going to get him was going to get a bit of a steal with him. To me,
for me,
Absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
constantly looking at what's the ceiling of what this guy can be. And for me, that's like Fred. Like that's like a Fred Warner level guy. I think he's that intelligent. I think he's that physical. And so for me, it's like when it comes to weird draft classes like this, I kind of throw the value conversation out the window. Not entirely, obviously, it's still important. But when it comes to that, you're going to come away from this draft being like, well, we have a general on our defense, like a legit, potentially all pro as a rookie guy. You're not going to look back at that and be like, oh, why didn't we take the guard? Why didn't we take this tackle that's struggling a little bit and is still the same quality level as most of the guys that you can get tackle-wise with the back end of the first round? Like, I think it's a deep linebacker class. I don't think really anything close to like Reese and Styles as linebackers. And so for me, if that's the case, you're getting an immediate general. And I also like the way Arizona's kind of built out their like front. You know what I mean? They have Walter Nolan. I like the edge rushers they try to build on. They build on a lot of guys, at least when they had Gannon. A lot of guys that could drop and be linebackers. And I get that in terms of your defensive line and your edge rushers. But I think adding Styles adds so much like variety to what you can do. It brings a lot of guys that I think are at their core maybe like, role players, number 2s in terms of edge rushers, D tackles, that kind of stuff. It pushes them all down because he's so good. I'm a big believer in the idea that if you have a lot of like role player-esque guys, they become way better once you get a guy who is that all-pro level because it
Right.
lets them have to have less on their plate. Styles makes that instantly easier for everyone on that Arizona front. So for me, like, I love the idea in that kind of defense. I get it's pretty high. I understand that it's like, whoa, but
yeah,
he's
I
like,
respect that pick a lot.
Yeah, no, I like it. I am curious, what % chance do you have it at that the Cardinals trade out of that 3?
high. I kind of think they're going to trade out.
Yeah.
Especially as reports tend to ramp up now. I tend to lean that they're going to trade out.
I think so as well.
I just also don't think that they care that much or have that strong conviction about a player this high. Like,
I
think,
don't believe so either.
yeah.
Which
Like,
is why I had them trading out, and I was like, I'll just go all out with it. Why not?
that's kind of where I'm at with it. So it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see where you guys put Styles ultimately in this, but let's Let's get to 4 then, because 4 is going to be fun. Who do you guys have for 4? Q, you start.
So for 4, I'll go first just because we've already discussed him. I have CC Manoa right here. I think it just makes the most sense for the same reasons Q was talking about for, Arizona. That's why I have it for Tennessee. So I just think that just is going to be a great, great pick.
Yeah. I think in terms of the third spot, I was very much kind of thinking about like who the most valuable player in certain position was that. And I understand he's not necessarily ranked as guard, but I kind of felt Maui Noah. If that wasn't the case, I would have probably had the exact same pick as you. But I put Bailey here, actually. I just think that defensive line could really use that kind of work. And I do think that Bailey is going to be one of those players that's just going to be a weapon for a really, really long time to come. So I think it would be a good solid pickup for them. And I think they could use the defensive improvement.
Do you like Bailey over Bane then?
It's hard. It's really hard for me. It's really tough. I mean, I think there is a lot to be desired with Bane's physical traits. I think the arm thing does come into play, and I will tell you, as somebody who watched Miami very, very closely, he did get beat by a lot weaker opponents, at least size-wise, and I think when that comes into play in the NFL, that could really, But I think the thing with Bane to me is just the motor is absolutely ridiculous, especially compared to Bailey, Like you said, I think Bailey can be a little bit stiff sometimes, a little bit too much of like a one-trick kind of guy, Ruben Bane is just doing everything he possibly can back there. Like, he is getting innovative with it. But I don't know. I just think in terms of – and I was also really thinking about what I think they're going to do. And I think I could see in an NFL war room just leaning more towards the traditional type of phenotype for that type of athlete. And I think that's kind of where Bailey lands for me. So, yeah, that's kind of where. So, yeah, I guess you could say
that is valid range for Bailey for me. Like, at 4 is kind of where it starts for me. I don't even hate him at 3. It's just – for the Jets, I hate it. I really do hate it for the Jets. And so, like, I do like Bailey at 4. I think it fits for like a double-digit sack guy that they want. And I do like Maui Noah for them too. I like the idea of them investing in guard like that. They just signed Skronsky again, so right, like that's a good that's a good question actually. Do you see Maui Noah as tackle or guard? Because they have Latham and Moore, so I'm assuming you're pushing him in at guard.
I mean, if you're trying to get him to play right away, I think you let Camp decide. I think that it really just depends on how he looks there. But I would say long term, I would want him at tackle.
True.
As a GM, that's what I would want.
To replace Dan Moore?
Yes. Yeah. Who I see as more of a transitional tackle, despite his contract. But, it's getting to where money doesn't even matter in the NFL with these cap hits. They're just absolutely absurd.
Yeah, money doesn't matter. Who
do you have?
So I got a guy that I've got Jeremiah Love. Love, and the reason
I had a feeling.
Yeah,
the reason why I had an itch.
There's a combination of the fact that I think that this is what they're going to do if he's there, if Arizona doesn't end up taking him and they trade down. But also it's the fact that you're going to probably not be great this year. I don't hate what they've done on defense. I like the secondary moves they've done. They went out of their way to go get Alontae Taylor. They went out of their way to go get Cordell Flott from the Giants. These are good picks for corners. Kevin Winston Jr. is going in a year or two. I like that. I think they still have Amani Hooker. I like their secondary. I like the secondary pieces they have. They've got young linebackers like Cedric Gray that are building up, and I like that a lot. I like where their defense is at. They trade for Jermaine Johnson. For me, just go best player available at this point. And for me, offensively, that's Love. I think by that point, the running back class here is my running back 2 is Jadarian Price, and I wouldn't take him in the first. So at that point, cool, take Price in the second. That's fine. But by that point, I would just take a superstar at running back. Unless the only other option I really love here is a Carnell Tate or something like that, which I can see as well. But I look at Love as a slightly better player than Tate, as much as I love Tate. I think Love is a better running back than Jingy was last year for me. I think they're the same tier. I think they're tier 1 guys. But yeah, I just tend to view that when the board falls like this, and you're trying to figure out where are your holes. I look at running back as a bigger hole than really anything they have on defense. Like their defense can survive. Running back wise, I don't love who they have, and if you have a chance to just get like a blue chip all pro guy year one like that, I think you take the chance. I get it; it's high. Saquon went to what did Jane to go like 5 or something, right? It was like 5.
I think it was 6.
6
When
for
Vegas drafted him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy range. It's a great weapon for Ward. It lets Ward have to do less.
Mm.
I don't know. That's where I ended up leaning. I do think it is best player available for them, and I think they like him. So
I think I really fell in love with the idea of Jeremiah Smith and Cam Ward for a while, and I was honestly kind of close to making that pick as well. But I just think the team just needed a little bit more of that structure, and I just felt like a trenches guy kind of provided that a little bit more, you know. So that was really my that's what kept me a little bit away from Jeremiah. But I totally understand the evaluation of him, and it does feel like something. I feel like there's a few places where Jeremiah Love would kind of fall into unless you're purely just drafting based on best player available. And I think the Titans is one of those slots. So I totally do understand in getting him just for the opportunity.
Right.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
no, I get it for sure. Like it's definitely like we're taking a running back high, but like he's like
Well,
mainly
if
top.
we are talking BPA, that leads right into the team we talked about earlier, and the Giants having 5 and 10, who I do have taking BPA, who on my board at this time is Jeremiah Love.
Okay, you went Love to the okay. All right.
That would be fun. That would be a lot of fun. I think Harbaugh would be licking his lips if that happened.
I mean, that would be a fun offense. I will tell you, like that backfield would be absolutely ridiculous, you know.
Dude,
But
it would,
yeah.
and here's where I'm at with that because like I think Love's incredible. My only pushback on it is the fact that I think they have running back depth. They've got Scattaboo, Tracy, and their Singletary. All 3 of those guys contributed really well for them last year. So it's not even like they'd be better. Like Love would clear and away be better than all 3 of them. But for me, it's like at that point, that's when the value conversation hits for me, where it's like, what's the best way to maximize the offense? Another running back in an area where running wise are pretty good.
Yeah, the best way to maximize the offense is to take the running back that's going to take the heat off the guy who's coming off a shattered ankle.
I agree with maximizing the offense, but I see maximizing the offense as taking who I have at this spot, Carnell Tate, because I think Carnell Tate is by far the best receiver in this class. I think he's unbelievably crisp and sound. He reminds me of like a more tightly bigger Calvin back at hand. He reminds me of that very much. I've seen some people throw around like George Pickens. I don't see it. I don't think he has that like loose, bendy feel to the way that he attacks the ball. I think like Pickens is a bit more acrobatic, whereas I think Tate's a bit more like clean and sound and precise. Like I don't think they play the same. I've heard people say T. Higgins. I don't really see that either. I think Higgins is a lot.
Reminds
more
me a bit of a Marvin Harrison Sr. If I'm being honest with you, just kind of like
I
a clean
actually- I
class
actually-
route running. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was.
I actually do see that.
Yeah.
But I went Tate just because of the fact that, like, if we're talking about maximizing offense, I just think that Tate takes that to the next level because right now they're wide receiver 2 Darnell Mooney, which is
Right.
fine, right?
Plus, Love's off your board already at this point.
Say that again?
Love's already off your board at this point, too.
He is. And I like Love a lot. I just think you're more set at running back than you are receiver. I really do think that. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be mad at the Love pick. I think it'd be like, cool, he's going to be great. But it is like,
Right.
if I'm trying to find the best way to maximize the offense, I think a receiver like Tate maximizes it more now than Love does. Not in the sense that like Tate's like a player, but just in the way the Giants are set up. Don't get me wrong. Love would be great. He'd be awesome. I just don't think there's a big difference between what he'd be bringing to the table in terms of how the running game is set up than Scattaboo. He's a better player, but I just think there's a little bit more to it than that. So speaking of which, Q, who do you have at number 5?
I have Sonny Styles actually. I think this is kind of a situational pick for me, honestly, because I think you're really looking down the barrel of this draft right now. I think at least left on this list in terms of like that top 5, top 10 rankings, Sonny Styles is just the best talent in my mind. So I think you go there because of that, honestly. And I also do think the linebacking room leaves a bit to be desired when it comes to the Giants. But I think you're looking down the barrel of this draft, and I kind of am looking because you have the 10th pick, and I'm looking at the next few picks, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of offensive needs there, you know? So I think you will have the opportunity to kind of get your offensive playmaker later on, but I think it's just better to kind of snab up Styles for now and then kind of wait till you get to
No,
that spot.
I love the pick, honestly. Like that's
Yeah.
that's the ones I played with. Like I think all of Love, Tate, and Styles are all the ones where it's like I see these make sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like
They fit so well in so many different places.
Yeah, exactly. They're just different building a roster philosophies, really. Like I for me, like Styles is the one I would love. You know, Tate's my number one option there, just because I think Tate's incredible. I think he's like Tedero McMillan level last year. But I think if you're not going Tate, Styles to me is like a home run right there. And for all the reasons we talked about before.
Yeah. I will tell you, and not to push back too much, but I do think with this receiving class, though, you have about like 3 top receivers. And I do think if you do end up missing on one of those guys, I would be very comfortable bringing in a guy like Lemon as opposed to, you know, but
Like you should get a safer floor of not failing, are you saying?
I'm just saying, like, if someone in between those 5 and those 10 spots were to pick up a guy like Tate, I would be very comfortable getting another receiver from that, you know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which I don't disagree with. Like, there is a value end of the receiver conversation that I feel is the best value, which is like, I'm not going to get too into like where I have him so far in the class, but like Casey Concepcion, he's my wide receiver 2 in this class. So like, if it were up to me, like, and teams not the way I did, I'd be like, take this guy at 5. Like, to be honest with you.
Really?
Like, yeah. If he didn't have the drop problem as bad as he did, he'd be a tier 1 prospect for me. That's how I stand by it. That guy's,
I like him a lot, and I remember watching the Texas A&M LSU game and seeing some amazing things, you know. But like, there was nothing that like completely separated him like that to me. You know what I mean? I'm not in the sense that he is like, but just, you know, I'm very curious as your analysis towards that. But I guess we'll get to it. You know?
yeah, I'll go deep into it once we get around.
Once we get there.
Once we have.
But in the meantime, we got the Cleveland pick. It's
Yes.
6. This is where I have Sonny Styles. I don't see him getting past this point in a real world scenario. Hometown guy, home run for the fans, home run for them as a defense. Just continuing to get stronger on that side. Definitely the best player available at that point too.
Yes,
I'm gonna go do something for the wife really quick. I'll be right back so you can discuss your picks.
go for it. I like Sonny Styles at 6. I do like that. I have a hard time thinking he's going to get out of the top 5, and I don't know if I'm crazy for that, but like we've talked about it before, but like I think the league views him really high, but I guess it's a value thing, right? Like, are they going to think that like taking a linebacker top 5 is too aggressive? You know,
It's hard for me to see him slipping that low too, and I don't know. That's I don't know. For me, I think the thing that really just needs to be addressed dramatically with Cleveland is the offensive line. You know, that's if not the worst unit in football, one of the worst. You know, it's in that bottom 5 kind of sphere, and that's why I kind of went Spencer Fano for my pick. Honestly, I really like him a lot from what I've seen, especially like the measurables. I think Utah's line in general was a point of strength. I forget the other guy that was on it, but in general, yeah. So I really think that's a little bit more of a tighter fit in terms of like their needs, you know. But I do like Stoney Styles anywhere, if I'm being completely honest, especially like that high up. So
I think you and I kind of went the same direction, which was offensive line for them, because I went Monroe Freeling, and I want to say I don't view Freeling like that highly. Like I don't. I think upside's there, but all the talk seems to sound like they love him. Which I get it. I just don't know if I'm going top 6 with it. And so like I went Freeling. I agree with you. I think Fano's a better player. I think Freeling's the most of these guys to project the best to be a tackle, because I feel like whenever I'm looking at like Fano, and I'm looking at like Blake Miller, and I'm looking at some of these guys, I'm like, man, you'd be an awesome guard. Like a lot of these tackles in this class, I'm like, you'd be a great guard. Whereas a lot of the tackle end of it is a lot of like, okay, we'll see how he handles it. You know, I'm a lot more confident in them as guards, or some of these guys as centers. Like I'm way more confident in that. Freeling I see as a tackle. Freeling, his size, 100% see this guy being like a very legitimate tackle. Like I don't know how like most consensus boards. I
A
think
lot
have,
of potential with him.
yeah, I think a lot of boards have him at like picks 16, 17 around there. He's 6'7", 315. Like that's
Yeah,
that's
that's a
insane.
dog.
That's insane, dude. Like
That's
that's
a Georgia boy.
yeah,
That's a well-fed Georgia boy right there.
dude,
Yeah.
that's a big dude, bro.
Yeah.
That is a white man.
My thing though is I really don't. I think you just take the most talented linemen because there's nothing in that roster. I don't remember the exact names of all the linemen on Cleveland, but there's nothing in that roster that really is pushing me to be like, oh no, you got to keep this guy in. So even if Fano plays guard for you, like that's not a downside to me, you
No,
know?
for
I
sure.
think you kind of let him explore himself. Think you see what works with that offense, but I just thought I think the thing that people keep saying with Monroe is he's like kind of a little bit more of a raw prospect. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
like you said, he has those side attributes and everything. But it's kind of you're still waiting him to kind of learn those little components and everything. I think Fano was just a little bit more of a safer pick, but yeah, I think you kind of just let him roam and kind of figure it out.
yeah.
I think there's nothing but upside for that line at this point.
Like I don't think his run blocking is really that good right now, from what I watched of him, which is like fun. Like it's kind of like a big hulking guy who just kind of doesn't
Yeah.
know really how to play that well yet. Like
Yeah.
I think he's good at processing, like not necessarily like all the technical sides of it, but like his awareness, I think is pretty good. Like I think he understands. He's like got like high reflexes. Like his reflexes are all there. I think he's got really quick feet and he's really efficient in his stance. Like I think he's got insane. Like he's got an 84-inch wingspan. It's crazy,
Yeah.
dude. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
So
Unbelievable.
while you
He's
were
not
gone,
good name.
yeah, while you were gone, Shane, we've been talking about Monroe Freeland, number 6.
Wow.
So
And then I had Fano at number 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Both of
Yeah.
those make a lot of sense for their needs
Yeah.
right now,
and I
where they're at. So
and
I totally respect both of those picks. Actually,
I
Freeling's a little bit more out there for me personally, but I was just hearing
Yeah,
your
that's what I was
argument,
saying.
and that's what I thought you were talking about.
I tend to lean with Q about like Fano. It's just the fact that I think they want Freeland. I think they want the traits-based projection. Do I agree with that assessment? Not really. But I get
And their
it.
fans would be livid on draft night.
Dude, they're gonna be so mad.
They would be livid in that scenario.
They think they're getting Makai Lemon, bro. It's not happening. They think they're getting Makai. Oh, he gonna be mad. Yeah, no,
And they'd be even more mad.
yeah.
Because
No,
my 7 slot,
whole house mad. Yeah.
my 7 slot's another Ohio State guy. I got Caleb Downs going to the Commanders right here.
If I could say one more thing about the Styles pick, though, I think the one thing with that though is I actually do think I think he would fit well into that defense, but I also think that the Browns have a pretty decent linebacker core right now. Honestly, if I'm being
Oh, the rich
completely
get richer in that scenario, absolutely.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
But I just
and
I
it's
just think
it's a
that-
no-brainer pick if he's there.
Yeah,
sure.
yes, 100%, 100%. That's just the
Yeah.
one thing I want to add in.
No,
Yeah.
all
No,
good.
I totally get it. Yeah.
Anyone else want to criticize me before we move on? Or
Yeah.
No, I'm really kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have Caleb Downs here. I don't see him getting past Washington. If he wasn't a safety, if he was a corner, he'd probably be going top 3. This dude is amazing at the position. Probably the best prospect coming out that I've seen since maybe Minka. I know Kyle Hamilton was also very, very good, but I just mean pure prospect wise. Minka Fitzpatrick, I would say. That's where this guy falls. He's going to be all pro. He's going to be a home run for whoever gets him, but Washington just happens to fall right at the spot where it makes the most sense because unfortunately safety is so devalued at the NFL level.
He's just an incredible athlete too, honestly. Just watching his tape and everything. He's got even like a little bit of Sean Taylor to me, just really,
Wow.
really nice ball
Yeah.
hawk like that. But I really like him.
Yeah.
I ended up going this is where I put Jeremiah Love, honestly. This is I think as far as Love probably falls to me.
I feel like I don't see a lot of him to Washington, but that makes sense. Like,
I think the thing with Washington has not had a 1,000-yard rusher in I think about almost close to 20 years. I think Alfred Morris was the last guy for Washington to have a 20
They don't really
1,000-yard season.
tier running back one.
Yeah, and I think you have an opportunity to change that for a long time, and I also do really believe in Jaden Daniels still, despite having like a bit of a down year last year. I think you put that guy behind him. I think it's a really really good fit for
It's a
that.
great pick for them at that
Yeah,
spot.
I really
Yeah.
like that a lot for them. I think that works well. So
I
Yeah.
like it a lot. Yeah.
yeah,
I think you guys are gonna really like my pick because I went with your goat, David Bailey to Washington.
Okay. I
Okay.
mean, I was wondering. I'm like, is this dude falling out of the top 10 for Jack? I mean, my God.
I think that's realistic, but I'm not gonna say that.
Kept on
But
leaning
I thought he was
forward,
gonna be a
and I'm
second
like,
rounder, man.
yeah.
I thought it was like
yeah, he's gonna be a second rounder. Let's not get that far. But yeah, I went with Bailey at 7. Like I said before, I worry about the bend. I worry about the run defense. I worry about the physicality when it's not speed to power. But I do think he fits Washington really, really well. I think in terms of what they're building, I like Johnny Newton as a D tackle for them. I like kind of what they're building there. I think if I had to give a critique of this defense, it's please, for the love of God, get younger. Like it has been veterans on veterans in terms of investments. Bobby Wagner, like all that weird stuff. Like it's just there needs to be a younger developmental piece here. And I think if you're going to get an edge rusher, go with a speed and power guy like Bailey. Like we said before about Bailey, I'm lower on him, but this is a great spot for him to me. I'm totally down for this. I think it's a really nice spot. So in terms of Downs, love the Downs pick for them. Like I view Downs as maybe number 1 in this class. Number 2 is probably Reese and Styles. Like he's unbelievable, like truly, truly
I
unbelievable.
thought you meant at safety. I was about to be like, okay, hold on.
No. But I think Downs is incredible. So obviously that makes complete sense for Washington.
Yeah, I also think that Washington kind of lacks a lot in pass defense at this point too. So I think that's an immediate jump for them. So yeah, I think that fits really well in their D.
Trey Amos, watch out for him next year. Or don't.
Possibly dumb question. Von Miller, is he still there?
Oh my God, that's insane.
Do we know if that's true?
Can I look this up really quick? I need to.
go
You
for
wouldn't
it.
mind, because I feel like that helps with like what I was going to say after.
That's wild.
Is he still?
I think he's out of the NFL.
His contract's not up. Like his contract's up. I'm saying.
Yeah, like he was there
I was gonna say, I was like, that'd be a
2025.
great person for Bailey to learn from, though.
It would be.
Actually.
It really would be.
It would.
Now with that, do we want to move to pick 8?
Absolutely.
Let's do it. Which of you guys wants to start here?
Well, I got my main man, bro. I got Ruben Hurricane Bane up at 8, man. I mean,
Hurricane Bane.
I can't say my praises enough, honestly. I think in many ways that defensive line led us to a national championship. I think if you just look at the aggression, the motor, just kind of getting after the quarterback, he is just kind of like one of the most savagely players I think I've seen in a long, long time. And I totally understand the concern with his arm length, you know? But I think it's just one of those things that are being really overthought, you know? And maybe I overthought it a little bit because I do think this kid can easily be a top 5 pick. But, like, I just think you look at the aggression, you look at the motor, and I think if you're the Saints, that's the type of guy you want to add to that defense. So, yeah, no, I think he's more than solid.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, honestly.
Yeah.
Like we talked about with Bane, I think the physicality's there. I just worry about how his game can translate to stronger tackles, but it's not going to sway me from taking him out of the top 10. Like it's enough of a question to throw out there because it could become a problem. But like I think this would be great for them. I think it'd be awesome. I think they're looking for the next really legit edge rusher for them. And I think he'd be great, man. I'm a big Bane guy. He's my probably like logically edge 1. You know what I mean? Like Reese is in a weird hybrid role, so it's a bit different. In terms of edge, like he's my edge 1. My edge 3 we'll get into a conversation about because it's a hot take. But Shane, who'd you go for number 8?
I have the Saints running to the podium to get Olave's running mate, Carnell Tate.
All right.
I think that pairing with Shock throwing the ball, Nussmeier calling the plays alongside that staff that's just a match made in heaven.
For sure.
I know
Yeah.
Chuck would like that.
Yeah, well, like we said about Tate, like incredible vertical threat. Like I think people don't give him enough credit for like how great of a route runner he is vertically on the field because he has these long strides. It's a little bit similar to Justin Jefferson in terms of the strides that he takes. And so when people talk about like he's like, oh, he's slow, I hate that point because being a vertical threat is not about being fast. I stand by it. It's like one of the biggest myths in the NFL. Like if it was about that, Xavier Ward would be on it, and he's not, right? It's about how you tempo your routes. It's about how you stack defenders off of your release, right? Like it's never really about burning guys. That's why Jalen Hyatt didn't work out, right? Like more people need to understand that you can be a slower guy. That's why JSN worked out vertically outside this year because he understands how to tempo his routes. He understands stacking defenders. He understands all those little details. So does Tate. It's very different. I don't think he's as silky as JSN, but it's the similar conversation about being a vertical threat.
And dude, talk about going to an offense that'll scheme you open as well. Like
Oh,
he
yeah.
will have his opportunities and then some. And in a way, it would really help Olave taking the pressure off him while just letting him produce. You know, those big play threats would be unreal. We'd be talking about Shuck as like possibly an elite tier quarterback just because of the stats he'd be putting up with receivers.
I don't
like that.
I don't
getting
think there's
those-
any quarterbacks you couldn't plug into that offense that wouldn't look elite. I mean, that's
Exactly.
He'd be getting into those like
Very quick.
fraudulent MVP talks where it's like, okay, he's good, but relax. Like where it's like one of those things where it's like,
I was getting excited thinking about
this is
that
the number one player in the
offense.
world. And it's like, no, like bro, let's stop. But I can see it. I like the pick a lot. Me, I kind of went similar vein. I went Jordan Tyson.
Okay.
And the reason why is I think he fits the same mold of like vertical threat that I think that New Orleans wants. I think they want. I love Lemon. I think Lemon's great. There's another guy I think that's really, really great, Casey Concepcion, but I don't think value-wise. Like, I think Concepcion's number 2 receiver this class. I think it would be not wise to take him this early because you know other teams aren't. But the thing is with Tyson, I have concerns about Tyson. I think that outside of the injuries, we pretend that if he was healthy, he'd just be an incredible, perfect receiver. And I don't think that's the case. I think that he struggles with physicality at the catch point sometimes. He's inconsistent in that regard. I think route running wise, he's a bit in that Jerry Jeudy, Amari Cooper role where it's like, hey, you look really twitchy, and this is a part of what makes your high level trait so great. But like, man, you're overselling these routes sometimes. Like he's like extending his right leg outward to fake out a guy, and it's not working. It's not doing
And
it.
there's something to be said about the pressure he's putting on his knees and things by doing those constant movements. And like, if we cut that out, do we also cut out the constant sprains?
For sure.
And,
I think he's beautifully light on his feet. Like I think there's a little
oh
bit.
my
of,
gosh, that video of him on the sideline where he's trailing the sideline, jumps over the guy.
Yeah,
It's an
he's,
unreal
about
football
Tyson?
video.
we're talking about Tyson. Yeah, Tyson.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I think he's got a little bit of Antonio Brown to his like movement, like his feet, and that's great. There's a lot of upside to that. But people pretend like he doesn't struggle in terms of overselling his routes. Like he'll do a head fake, but he does it so quick that like the defender doesn't even fall for it. So then it ends up being this thing where it's like, yeah, that looked cool, but it didn't really do much, right? And it's fixable. It's incredibly coachable. But I feel like we've gotten to this conversation with Tyson where we pretend like, I don't know if you guys saw that clip, but it's like a clip of him at his pro day workout or his personal private workout. And it's him just running a route on air. And everyone's like, yeah, Tyson's wide receiver. I'm like, this on-air route that he just did convince you that he's wide receiver. I'm like, what are we doing, guys? Like,
Zach Wilson type of take right there.
yeah. What are these fantasy football Twitter pages doing, bro? Like, sorry, like stop. Like, and again, I think he's a high-level player. He's a tier 2 prospect for me. I'd take him 8. Like, I love Tyson. But we seem to pretend that if the injuries weren't there would not be concerns about him as a player, but there are. And he can fix
Yeah,
them.
I think that's really true.
But like, you have to have the reality check of what it is, right?
I
And
also
so,
think that in this draft, if you're talking about a receiver that is injury prone, you do have at least 2 or 3 guys that you can kind of put above him that might be a little bit more immediate.
for
you know?
sure.
Absolutely, depending on how
That's
scary your team sees those evaluations, like in what your medical staff saw, I think
Yeah,
that could affect where he
100%.
ends up getting drafted for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
And
So
for all that, that's why I took Carnell Tate here, because he is wide receiver 1 on my board. The wide receivers begin to fall off here.
Tate would go Tate would go to the Saints if he was here for me, but he's not, unfortunately. Now going to the Chiefs at number
Yes.
9. Which you guys wants to start with that one?
Jack, I
mine's-
think you should.
Yeah, go ahead.
You want me to go?
Yeah.
All right, I got you. All right, the Chiefs at number 9. I'm going with the boy. I'm going with Ruben Bain. I'm going with Ruben Bain. The reason why is because
We actually matched up on a pick.
yeah.
I
I,
guess same.
yeah, I like Bain here just because I think that if we're talking about value wise, this is great at this point. They need an edge rusher. Chris Jones is great. They have pieces. Carl Loftus has his ups and downs. Like he's kind of a complicated player. I think you need a very serious edge player here. And I think he fits the mold of how that D line's built, that much more bigger frame, physicality kind of guys. I just think it matches up well. And by this point, I wouldn't want Bain to fall that low. Before, when the Giants didn't have the number 10 pick, I had him kind of go to the Bengals sometimes. So you can kind of see where my headspace is at.
Yeah.
But that's where I landed with Bain.
You chose Ban as well, right?
I did, and it's one of those picks where like once Goodell's announcing it, everyone's grounding. It's like, well, Chiefs are back.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's putting out that tweet of like, dude, how could you let them get Bain? Oh.
Yeah,
I'm curious, though.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you think that the fact that he didn't do the bench press in the combine is gonna be an alert to any GMs or?
A little bit in terms of physicality, but not enough, I think, to sway him out of the top 10. But
No,
I
his
do
bend alone is just
Yeah, I
like,
think
I
that's
would
good.
draft him from that.
Yeah,
You can work on strength. Strength is
Yeah.
something you can build. You
Yeah.
can't develop that bend.
yeah.
no, 100%. And I think it was more a way of taking away from the conversation of is he strong enough, as opposed to like just him not wanting to do it. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Right.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. I went a very different route actually. I think their secondary with I think the defense is all right. I think there's a lot of pieces there, but I think the secondary is very very young, and because of that, I chose to settle on LSU's Mansour Delane. He's one of those guys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
big on him.
Another
Like him a
groaning
lot.
pick.
Yeah, I like him a lot, honestly. But he's one of those guys where I think there was a lot of questions for me ending the season with LSU, especially on that team. But I think he answered a lot of those in the combine. Just had like a very, very good performance. And I think if you're looking for a secondary, I think this is just obviously the first guy you take off the board. So yeah.
100%. Like I'm with you there. Like I
A
love
great pick, you.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. No, I think Delane's legit as you could get, you know. And so the big thing with Delane is I got worried sometimes that maybe his like recovery speed if it gets deep could be a problem. I don't know if you guys ever noticed that, but like sometimes that comes up. And so, but I think his length's great. Like his coverage skills are great. When I was watching the Clemson game week 1, Clemson has 2 receivers I like a lot next year, TJ Moore and Bryant Westco. Really nice route runners. They've got a lot of juice. They got shut down by Delane. They got shut
Yeah.
down. Man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they got shut down. There's only really one receiver I saw have the best game in this class against Delane. It was Concepcion. He was the only one that really like actually was beating him. You know, like he was the only guy. So
That game was ridiculous.
yeah.
No, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, but I love Delane. I think this is a great pick here. You'll kind of see where I end up having him, but I think this is a really, really good one.
Yeah, I like that a lot for them.
Yeah. Do we want to get to 10?
Yeah, we can go right into 10 because my 10 is Delane. I think that the Giants have an opportunity to get a guy that could be a cornerstone long term under the Harbaugh regime. And there'd be a lot to be excited about for Giants fans coming out of my draft with Love and Delane, who I think are both very, very good long-term players.
It's funny. I think I went the same philosophy as you, where I was like, I think you got the defensive guy in Sonny Styles. You might as well go ahead and get the offensive guy. But that offensive guy was Cardinal Tate for me. Yeah.
So you went Styles 8. Okay.
Yeah. I think
Ohio
this
State,
might
Ohio
be-
State.
Yeah, no, 100%. Match made in heaven, but this might be a little bit interesting to me because I do have to consider this is also a world where no other receivers are coming off the board for me. But I
was
think
gonna
based
say-
off my draft, it does
Tate's
make sense.
off the board for you, right?
Huh? Yeah, he's the first one off the board for me. But
Yeah.
I think just based off team needs, it felt like it was a good fit for me, honestly. But I think if you can come away with him and then you can get Sony Styles and the linebacker core, I think you've got a pretty successful draft in the first round alone. So Yeah, I
Yeah,
also think
absolutely.
outside of Malik Neighbors, there's just not too much there receiving
Yeah.
wise. You know, I'd love to see them pick up a tight end later on if they could. But yeah, I think they really need that weapon. So I think that fills a big hole for them.
Are you not a fan of the Theo Johnson, Isaiah Likely pairing of tight ends?
Isaiah Likely is gonna. I think he'll be good in
Yeah,
that offense.
I
Yeah.
think it's cool. I think it's cool though. I think I would like to see another tight end come in, maybe just for the physicality alone though. I would love to see
That's,
kind of a run blocking guy.
Harbaugh
I
likes to
think that
run
would
three
be
tight
yeah,
end.
yeah, I'm with you
yeah,
there. Yeah.
that is
Um,
true. But yeah.
for me, I went downs. This is where I went down.
Yeah.
I
So
think
you
it
went best case scenario for your own team, and then built your draft around that. I'm seeing what's happening.
yeah, no, dude. Because if Downs wasn't there, I'd go Styles. Like I was. There was a few games I was floating as the two, but I went Downs. I don't think Downs would go past 10. I really don't. I think it's impossible.
No, no.
And so, like,
No.
if Miami
Someone would trade up in that scenario.
got down, it's huge. But
It
like,
might be a little possible. I don't know.
it could be. You never know. We don't really
Yeah,
know exactly how they're
definitely
valued.
It really depends what Arizona does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. But yeah, I went Downs as we talked about before. I think he's maybe the best player in this class. I think this would be a slam dunk to get him and Tate. I think we kind of had similar mindsets to you about the approach, which is like blue chip defensive guy, blue chip offensive guy, or at least close to blue
Yeah.
chip offensive guy.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where I went with him. And we talked about Downs before.
And
so-
I think you come away from that Dexter Lawrence trade with a draft class of Cardinal Tate and Sonny Styles. I think there's no, or even just some kind of combination of that offensive
Yeah.
defense. There's no question you want that, in my opinion. At least
For
long
sure.
term. I mean, you have to like let those picks settle and everything, but like that's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
That's where I'm at too. With that, do you guys want to get to pick 11, Miami? Q, you want to start with this one?
I chose the guy out of Penn State. I'm a little scared to try and pronounce his name, so I'm just gonna call him Vega for
Yeah,
now.
I,
Oyeleva Loyo. I like him a
I-
lot. I think
it's
the
him.
consistency screams a lot to me. I forget exactly what the stat was, but I think he only lost on like 1 or 2 reps his whole career at Penn State. You know, unbelievable transcript with this guy, and I think that's really who you want for the Dolphins. I think the line play has been kind of abysmal, and I think that's kind of what we've seen a lot with the results of Tua's career. So yeah, I
Sure.
think that's a place we got to immediately upgrade, especially bringing in a guy like Willis. So I just think it's the most solid pick in my opinion.
Yeah, Vega kind of like flew down the radar on my draft. Like, not in the sense that I don't. It's just the way the board falls. I said this before. Like, I think there's gonna be a run on receivers or tackles, and that's gonna change how many guys kind of fall. Quote
Oh,
unquote.
absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, I can see that.
So for me, I kind of saw it as like a race to get a few receivers off the board with Tyson. So
Right.
I went left. I hate their receiving core. It's awful. It's the worst in the league by far to me. And I think getting a guy like Lemon, that's a target hog immediately. That's you can spam slant routes, anything intermediate as much as you want. He has outside versatility. I wouldn't put him there mostly. I think Lemon would be a slam dunk in terms of.
I also grabbed Lemon with this pick for the Dolphins.
All right.
Because, like
All
I
right.
said, they made that crazy trade earlier, but they took the 2 guys they ultimately wanted out of this and saw an opportunity with Reese at 3. But they still got the guy they ultimately would have settled for anyway at 11 in Mekhi Lemon. And they're more than happy with, that being the end of their 26th draft. Ultimately, they still have more picks after that 3rd round, which is where the trade ends. But, for the guys that will come in right away and be, like I said, those franchise guys moving forward, they end up with a solid duo right there.
For sure. It's weird though because I think Lemon would be the right.
And then I'll be
pick.
right back.
Yeah, go for it. It's weird because I think Lemon's the right pick, but I think the way you're going is probably the way to go. I think they go Vega or
Yeah, I just think
Now,
that type of build, that type of consistency, it's kind of a lot what I see with Maui Noah, except I think they are really going to truly keep him at the guard position, and I just think it's a scary talent to just kind of toss up, and
Yeah.
as a Dolphins fan, I think that line has been like crumbling, and I think like you're like I don't think I've seen a lot of players go through what Tua's gone through, and I think that's something to consider when you have a new quarterback in the system. So
100%. Like, and there's like guys on their line I like a decent amount. Like Patrick Paul, I kind of think is okay. Jonah, the guy that kicked up last year, Savanina, I think it is. He's okay. There's development there, but
Not bad.
my thing with O-line is one O-lineman can't make a bigger difference than I think other skill positions can. I think one receiver makes a bigger difference than one guard does. If your line's terrible and you add one guard, I'm sorry, he's going to be great, but this is like a slow process, you know? And so for me, it's like when you're adding that on to already okay players or good tackles, that's more intriguing to me. You know what I mean? So
I think that's fair.
yeah, like I know I'm a little bit of an outlier in that regard. I think people are the reverse. You know what I mean? We're like, I can get a receiver later, but that's always just how I've been. But I do really like Vega to Miami. It's just the receiving core is so bad. I mean, Lemon's right there.
I totally understand the need for it, and I was very close to grabbing a guy like Tyson or Lemon at this pick. I just felt like, I don't know. I really like this kid from what I've seen, and I kind of fell in love with him. And I also do think there's no way this would be their last O lineman of the draft, but. Yeah, I totally understand the need to kind of get that premier talent, but we'll see.
For sure. And I think, I think the conversation ends up being like, you know, do you think you can get a receiver at 30, like Casey Concepcion, if he falls, something like that? Because if you got Concepcion at 30, and you got like Manoa or Vega at 11, insane slam dunk for Miami to me. Insane slam. Like
100%.
Concepcion to me is like a top 15 grade player in this class, which I know is like an outlier take, but like that's where I end up with him.
I think I feel the same way in a lot of senses, but I could really see the second round to the beginning of the first round being really receiver heavy just by the way that this draft is kind of going, if that makes sense. I think after Lemon or Tyson, however you necessarily end that big three for you, there's a bit of a drop off and then it kind of picks up, you know? So I think you're gonna get one of those kind of solid bankable guys, but I just think you need that premier talent at O-line for now. If that makes sense. You know?
For sure. We'll see as Shane comes back, but like I guess let's just kind of get into pick 12. So we're not.
Sounds good.
You want to go first for Dallas?
Yeah. I will say this is probably my biggest fall. I've got Caleb Downs being drafted at pick 12 to the Cowboys, actually.
Yeah.
I think that's a slam dunk for him. Granted, I do think it's a bit of wishful thinking that he does fall this far, but I think that's definitely the pick to make based on what's going on with their defensive situation.
Yeah, I think if he's going to fall far, it can only get to up to here. That's a good pick if it happens. You know what I mean? I went Delane. Delane's probably got earlier, but like you know, if he fell like this is where I'd go. And like we talked about with Delane,
cornerback is definitely on their radar.
Yeah. So with that being said, Shane, who'd you go with?
This is another trade alert, boys. The noises are going off.
This is trade. Okay. All right.
And it's the hometown team calling the Cowboys. The Cowboys settle on a trade for pick 21 and Alex Highsmith. And in exchange, give up pick number 12. The Steelers move up and they get the wide receiver that they've been wanting in Jordan Tyson.
Interesting.
You had to jump to Rams to do it.
It's not impossible, but I almost think that them taking Messidor at like pick what? What do they have here? At pick
21.
20? Like I would rather them take Messidor than Highsmith. But I do love Highsmith. But I see where the headspace is at.
Yeah.
You think Dallas would trade up for a receiver?
I think in this draft, they have 12 draft picks as well. So it's not necessarily like it's one of those things where, you know, I'm going based on reports too. So I know that they've been listening on Highsmith. And after the Dexter Lawrence trade, I'm like, well, sky's the limit because his contract's even more appeasing and he's a really good player, you know. He's not necessarily going to be, you know, I mean, he could be team captain and everything, but he'll never be like that all-pro guy. But he's still a very, very solid guy. And, you know, like you talked about the argument for Dexter Lawrence about finding a player of that value right now, you know, and I'm sure like the Cowboys feel like they can win next year with the team that they have. I mean, they always do.
For sure.
So I think adding Highsmith into that, you know, would only benefit them.
That's definitely a big time Cowboys move, you know?
I see the vision 100%. I do. I think it makes sense. I don't know if Dallas will end up doing it, but I can see why they would.
Right.
Especially in
I have no clue who will get traded, but
yeah, exactly. But I like it. I think that's a very interesting thing to keep in mind because now I'm going to see if that's a move they end up biting on. 13 Rams.
13, I just had the boys get jumped for a receiver, and ultimately they settle on another need in their eyes, and they go tackle instead, and they go for Fano. That's what I have the Rams doing. I think Fano's a great pick value-wise at this point. It's kind of a BPA for them. You can make that argument.
For sure.
But in my head, they were reeling after Tyson, who was going to be theirs, was just taken.
Yeah. I feel like they're a lemon team, but I've heard people say Tyson fits what they do better.
I was going to say that's my pick. I think right now you have Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua on the final year of their contracts, and I think you really need to put a receiver in there. And granted, like that could change, but
it's gonna get extended, probably.
Yeah. I don't think Devontae is gonna get extension for sure. I think with Puka most likely, but I think you got to go ahead and get Lemons just very much because of that, you know. And
sure.
Yeah, it's definitely a situational thing, but I think that's kind of the best pick for them at this spot. So.
Definitely. If Lemon was on my board, they would have done it, but he's also off the board at this point.
So I went for a pick that I think is a bit of a reach, but I think it's what this team might do just in the way that I know they like to build their offense. So for them, I went Kenyon Sadiq, number 13. Now, it's a bit of a reach, and the reason why is because I think that Sadiq has a lot of cleaning up to do in terms of his play. With that being said, I think it's absolutely the kind of developmental tight end that they want to do more of that high tight end personnel stuff where they have like 3 tight ends in the field. There's a big change they started to do with the 13 personnel stuff. So I can see that absolutely changing. And like them just being like, you know what, we have Terrence Ferguson. They've got a few other guys that they like there too. It's like, why not bring in the most athletic guy you can see, almost like a positionless.
Absolutely.
It's a reach, but I think
it's so in the position to do something like that. You know, I think the talent-wise that's on that roster, they can kind of make that big move. And I think if it wasn't for the situation they are in receiver-wise, I probably would have drafted more around that lines of just kind of like going a little bit more boom and bust, having fun with it. You know, I think they're in line to do that. So, no,
wasn't there a report out there that some teams saw Sadiq more as a receiver than a tight end?
That doesn't surprise me. I think they probably see him in like an Isaiah Likely kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will tell you my thing with Sadiq, though, is very much what you're saying. I think the physical attributes are there. Like, when he kind of walks on the field, he's an absolute monster. Like, he's such a magic nightman and stuff. But I just think some of the explosivity and some of the, magic was a little bit left out the tape. So, but I think he's
not a great route runner either. Not a great route runner. More of like an athlete, So
I think his catching ability was really, really good, but I think a lot of that was very reliant upon his athleticism as well, So
yeah, I was gonna say, do you feel like he kind of has like but like not that big of a catch radius for a guy that athletic? Like
a little bit. I feel like it's not like kind of what you see from a
guy that big,
an acrobatic guy necessarily. It's more he's messing his way up there. He's kind of, But I also do think what the Rams have done with their receiving core can help some of that. So I think it's a pretty good pick for them there.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely.
And with that being said, you guys want to get to the Ravens pick?
Let's do it.
All right. Who wants to go first on this one?
I can go first just because it's a guy you've already discussed, and it's for all the reasons you mentioned. But I'm going Monroe Freeling here, and I think that that would be a great fit in that system. That's going to be a team to watch next year, regardless of how they finished last year under their new coaching staff and everything, and a big name, as well with what they got going on. So I think they take a bit of a shot here. But they go at a position. It's never a bad thing to build your trenches ever. And I think Monroe Freeling would be a great Raven.
Especially when you have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson in the backfield. I mean,
I think it's only smart to build through the trenches in that instance.
Yeah. And like with that pick, I ended up going Maui Noah. I think he'll go later.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wow. That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
I didn't even realize he was still on your board. That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
how much
and
of a
that's like
no-brainer
the
top
thing,
10
like,
he is for me.
Yeah.
that's the
wild.
thing is like I think if the receiver position starts to get a run, which it sounds like some teams are kind of panicking they won't be able to get their guy, but like if that happens, I think it'll push some tackles back and then create really good value for those teams. So I can see it's like either way. It's like either the tackles go early, receivers go late, it's vice versa. It's less like I'm like low on that. I'm not. But I can see something like that happening. You have versatility of tackle, guard. I prefer him at guard. But yeah, that's what I went for that.
Totally.
Hugh, you
Um,
say, yeah,
For
you go.
me, I actually took Jermond McCoy. I think that secondary could actually use a little bit of work, and I think with Jermond, he's one of those guys. If he didn't have that ACL injury, I think he probably would be the top cornerback over Delane in this
Yes.
draft. I really
Certainly an
think
argument to
there's
be
a
made.
lot of I think there's a lot of potential with that kid, and I just think it's kind of the right feeling for what this defense needs right about now. So yeah, no, I like him a lot.
I like that they have Nate Wiggins. TJ Tampa's kind of interesting. I
Yeah.
think he has something to him. Obviously Hamilton, Malachi Starks. Like I like their secondary. I think that would be a high level addition that really takes the secondary to another level. So I totally get it. It's like maximizing the position to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do really like that. Interesting. With that, should we get to Tampa? I have
We
seen
can get to Tampa
Yeah,
because
I didn't
like, we're
expect
starting
for
to
this.
get into guys that we already discussed. You know what I mean? So it's really
Yeah.
easy to just be like, yeah, this is where I go McCoy. He doesn't fall further than this for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
McCoy's a really good one here. Totally makes sense. What about you, Q?
This one was really interesting for me because a lot of people are really pushing for a tight end at this position, and Sadiq is kind of the obvious pick for this one. But for me, I think, like I said, I think there's a lot to be desired with him. So I ended up going with Akeem Mesidor for this one, actually. I really like
Nice.
the idea of having a really bendable edge like this, and I think it revamps their line on the defensive side a lot more. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think this would really help them stay competitive.
Interesting.
I went McCoy. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I went McCoy here. I think McCoy's great. Like we said before, if it weren't like I keep telling myself what's better, the Delane 2025 tape or the McCoy 2024 tape, and they're neck and neck for me. So I think if you can now, there's a question to be said of like, all right, are we going to keep adding injury-prone receivers to Tampa? I mean, that's what we did with Benjamin Moore last year, dude. Like they've already
They're at their wits' end, Jack.
like they did that already with Benjamin Morrison last year, later rounds, obviously later rounds, but it's still an interesting question. But again, this is assuming Delane's off the board, so it's not like I'm going Delane here. But still, the upside's ridiculous. Like that's a superstar, all pro level guy if you can get it. So I went with him there. The other option I was going to pick there, which we won't get into the conversation yet because I have to pick somewhere else. I would have taken Malachi Lawrence. I was taking Malachi Lawrence, CF edge. He's my edge 3, and I think he's a solidified first rounder.
Really? That's
Okay.
that's a take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
We
What do you
ride
think
him-
you see in him that kind of boosts him up?
I think he's got a deep pass rush bag. I think his speed and power is great. I think that he's got good strength overall. I think that you saw a huge leap from him from year 1 to, or not year 1, but you know what I mean, like from last year to this year. Put on more weight. He's a much more dense edge rusher now. He's so good at like closing his hands off when he gets locked up or engaged. Like he'll immediately disengage, pull his arms back, send the tackle flying. Like, and for him to do it at that size, like if you just watch the tape, man, there's always a different path for the quarterback every time, and I just think it's so impressive. We'll get into it much deeper once I get to him in my pick, but that's how highly I view him. Is basically what I'm saying.
Hey, man. You know, I respect it.
Yeah,
But before we get there, we do have to go through pick 16 with the Jets.
we do.
And here, I have Concepcion coming off the board right here.
I consider.
Oh, wow. That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, KC to NYC. That's what I have going on here. Jack, wide receiver 2.
Wide receiver 2, baby. Yeah, I love this. I think it's a great pick. Yeah, I mean,
Interesting lineup.
yeah, I mean,
receivers.
I'll just get into Concepcion. I mean, like, I think he's unbelievable as an athlete. I think he has insane burst. The thing about him is he has a combination of both natural separation and burst in his ability that reminds me a little bit of Neighbors in some ways, but he also is a refined route runner. Like he understands tempo very well. Like what people think Tyson is in a route runner in terms of explosiveness is what Concepcion is. Because he actually is selling routes with a plan, whereas I think Tyson usually is like overselling something. And I think with Concepcion, all that is valid. I think his hand fighting is really good. He's really good against press. He's really good against man coverage. He understands zone super well. I think his acrobatic nature is insane. I think he's got that Malik Neighbors like spinning flip catch type deal stuff. The problem is his hands, obviously. That's the issue, is that his hands are an issue. I'm of the belief that I think that if you have higher upper echelon traits, drops can be okay. The biggest example of that is Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors, his first year, he dropped the ball a lot. You know why it didn't matter? Because they just threw the ball to him again. Like, they literally asked him about that. They're like, what do you think about your drop off? He goes, if I drop it, throw it again. And that's literally what they did. That's like straight up what they did. Now, it's different if it's a guy that has other issues. Think of like a Deontay Johnson, right? Like a guy who struggles a little bit with press, struggles with all these other things. There's not a lot of maximized traits to make up for that problem if it's concentration. With Concepcion, that's not the case, which is why I don't really care about the drop issue. Right, like he is that guy with that burst. He has yak ability. He's really good with the ball in the air. Like he's unbelievably acrobatic. And I think that he's the guy that can take the top off the defense. Like I just think he's absolutely this kind of pick. Q, what about you?
The one thing I want to say about Concepcion is I think what the Jets really kind of need to do is kind of make their team a little bit more pretty for a quarterback to come into. And I think that's where the issue with the drops come in a little bit. You know what I mean? When you are evaluating that as a quarterback, that's just one thing I think you have to think about. And I just think it makes it slightly less enticing than, of course, like a guy like Tyson or Lemon or,
The way I'll frame it is this, is like, do you feel like if that is the case, a quarterback can just continue to throw targets his way? Because for me, I just think that's the case. Like, I think if that is the case, it'll be a growing pain, but the quarterback's also going to miss him a few times. Yeah.
Well, it's the drops that turn into tip balls that turn into picks, right? And then the confidence that can come from that, which is what I thought Q was trying to say there.
Especially if you're aiming for like a younger kind of guy, like that can be. But
me,
I think that's fair.
For me,
did anyone consider Simpson here?
Receiver in the class. Say it again,
I
James.
considered it actually, but I just think it's a little bit too early, if I'm being completely honest with you. And I think there's just more needs. But mine was pretty interesting, and I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. I got Caleb Banks out of the University of Florida. I think this guy brings a really special ability to the inside pass rush, actually. And I know it's a bit of a reach, and I know he's a bit injury prone, but I just think the strength and speed and just what I kind of saw when he was healthy in a Gators uniform was really, really special. And I think if you pair that with Arvell, I think you just have a really special kind of line situation. And I don't know. There's a lot about this kid that really pushed me there. But I know
that might be the hottest take I've heard so far. That might be the hottest take I've heard so far. Yeah. Interesting. I get the upside for sure. Like Caleb Banks' consensus is number 38 from what I'm looking at right now. Like he's number 38. I get it because of the upside. My only problem with that would be if you're going to take a D tackle, at that point I'd rather take like Caleb McDonald or if you're going to hire him.
Yes, I think that's fair. Yeah,
but
yes, I think that's fair.
And I think that Banks is going to be available at their next pick. So like I think that's one of those picks that might be the GM's last.
The Jets fans might tar and feather you, bro.
Yeah, Pittsburgh would be an ugly scene. That whole
I get where you're at with it. I
get the Aaron Rodgers treatment.
Get that Aaron Rodgers treatment. Yeah, interesting. Super interesting.
I don't know. I just think the upside is really there. I think he's just one of those really special guys, But yeah.
Interesting. That's the most interesting pick so far. That's a very interesting pick.
Especially since you led with you didn't see the value in Ty Simpson at this point.
I
guess that's fair.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, I went with Vega because Vega's kind of falling here. It's easy. They lost Elijah Vera Tucker
for 17.
16.
Yeah, 16.
For 16.
Yeah, 16. Yeah. For me, easy answer. Vega falling this far. It's a pretty easy one for me.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Like
Yes.
that, exactly. And that's what I was going to say. Is that's why I have the Lions taking Vega at 17.
Oh,
Because just the value right there is unreal.
Yeah.
that's a good. Yeah, the value there is. It's interesting that you say that because I'll give you my pick. My pick here is Spencer Fano.
Okay.
Here is Spencer Fano. The reason why is obvious because like if he's falling this far, like you got to take it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was thinking of something in that range. I think the most obvious pick here for me is Monroe Freeling, honestly. I think I think he's
Another
just
Lions all over him.
That's
Yeah.
so
I think
very-
Dan
yeah.
Campbell to me is very much Cristobal kind of coded in the sense that his strength really comes from his line. And I think you have Penei Sewell on one side and you have Monroe Freeling on the other side. I think that's just absolutely dominant if it works out well. I think the thing with with Freeling, he's a little bit. I think there's certain things I'd like to see a little bit sharper with him, but I think the potential is really, really, really very much there. But yeah,
100%. I went with, like I said, Fano. So that's it. We're all kind of same headspace.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. Now let's get to Minnesota at 18 here. I'll start with this one. I went Dylan Thieneman. Very easy to understand.
As did I.
Harrison Smith 2.0, same with that guy. Like,
I feel like
same-
I'm
Why-
being called
why
out a
Harrison
little bit
Smith?
here.
yeah. Did
I
he play?
went with
Who'd you go?
E-Man. I
You
really
went with
felt
Neil Warren.
yeah. I went with Emmanuel
Neil Warren, okay.
Dude, can I be
Yeah,
so honest
honestly.
with you? I think you might be ahead of the curve with that one. I think that
Really
might-
like him. Really
think
like
that-
him. I think he was getting a lot of unfair questions in his interviews about the competition he was playing, but he also had some really good games against Kentucky, which I know is not a premier Power 4 league by any merits, but I just think this kid is a really, really natural ball hawk. He kind of does everything you really want in that type of quarterback and cornerback, or safety, where he is just kind of causing turnovers. He's getting in the way of the ball. He's got that one step of speed. He's not as fast as that Oregon guy, but like I don't know. But really fell in love with him through his tape a lot, and I think he'd be a really interesting fit for Minnesota.
That's a great pick.
Definitely. And we're all in the same headspace again.
Yeah, safety.
Kudos
Yeah,
to
we're all
us.
picking safety here. Yeah, 100%. Well, coming in with the Panthers here, I went with Avion Terrell. Here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. See, in some of the mocks that I ended up doing, there was a bit of question of like, could they get Jermon McCoy if he fell very fast? You know what I mean? Which is interesting. 2 injury players, and J.C. Horn. That could be interesting. But I like Terrell. I like Terrell a lot. I think he's getting a little bit too much, negativity. He's undersized. He's 5'11", 5'10", maybe. I think 105. Like he's a much smaller guy. But he can play outside. He's good against zone coverage. His eyes are nice. I think he plays similar to AJ Terrell. I think he's super loose, not really a lot of stiffness, very bendy as an athlete, super fluid with his hips, all that kind of stuff. The stuff I think you can hone in. I think if he's learning with a room with
I will tell you 100% as somebody who follows ACC team in depth a lot. I'm so surprised with just the amount of defensive talent that's coming out of Clemson. If you're really watching those games, like it's wild, just the assessments
sure.
on these kids, it's
For
crazy.
sure.
But
Yeah.
no, I think he's really, really solid. I like him a lot.
Ironic in a way.
Yeah. What about you guys?
At 19, I have Messidor coming off the board here. I just think, again, it's just one of those drafts, man, where it's like these no-brainer guys that would go earlier than this. These teams into 20, like their late teens, early 20s, like they could really benefit from the tackle run or the wide receiver run. Guys they typically wouldn't have a chance at. And I feel like, Messidor falls into that category where I think he would go higher in some other drafts. But because of that tackle run and the wide receiver run that I go on in my mock, like Messidor's here for the Panthers.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. With Messidor for me, super high floor, not a super high ceiling, and that's okay.
Right.
And that's what he is for me, which is like deep pass rush bag, but also I kind of feel like guys like this who don't have that much power to them typically have to have deep bags by this point. because you're an aging, older veteran. Like he's like 25, right? He's
I
old.
think he'll be 25 by game day.
He will be, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like for me, it's like high floor player that fits perfectly for what Carolina's doing. The other thing with that is I like that they picked Nick Scorton last year. I think Scorton showed enough, and him alongside Jalen Phillips, I would at least want to see what's there before edge. But
Before Jalen Phillips goes down with some injury and misses at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We good. Yeah. we ball. What about you, Q?
Yeah, it's interesting that you guys went defensive. I definitely see the mindset in that, but I just think I think for this receiving core to me is so underdeveloped in a weird way. You know what I mean? And I think you just needed Jordan Tyson at the spot. I just think they need a little bit more depth there, and I think you just need a secondary receiver too that I think has that much potential. So yeah, that was my pick for 19.
If Jordan Tyson's there at 19, someone's taking him, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool for them. I totally see the vision there with that. With that, what do we guys think about Dallas here? I can just give you mine. Messidor, like we were talking about. Messidor,
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing. So I won't even go that much far into it after we talked about it. But what about you?
Yeah. I think it's the same type of needs for me. I went with Kendrick Folk at this
Okay.
Yeah, I think just he fills that same type of space. I think it's very needed on their line right now. So yeah.
So we all, in a way, went edge with the first round pick for the Cowboys.
Basically,
Because I have them getting Highsmith, right? But I had them keep that pick 20, and then they tried to get out of it. They ended up, none of the other GMs were biting, so they stayed. And they ended up going best available at this point, which is McNeil Warren for me, which is, a good pick for that defense. I mean, it is something that is of need, maybe not as important as edge, but with that Highsmith addition, they were able to do that.
for sure, absolutely. I like that move. I like Warren here. So I'm probably going to have Warren the latest, but you'll see where he goes. So with that being said, Steelers number 21. Which you guys want to go first on this? I have one that I think you'll like. Shit.
Well, since it is,
I've got a
it's the
pretty
Cowboys.
crazy one here. I think
Who do
you
you
guys
got?
like. I've got Ty Simpson for the Steelers.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think I think
Certainly make for an interesting draft night for him in the city of Pittsburgh.
yeah, it would definitely
Certainly make for. I don't know what the reaction would be in the moment,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I think it'll
Yeah.
piss off. I think it'll piss some people off, honestly. But I don't know. I just think it would. I think it's kind of the revamp they need. I think they've kind of been in a quarterback limbo state for a while, and I just would kinda
purgatory.
purgatory. Yeah, and I think I would really love to just see them start fresh, honestly. So yeah, that's very much where it comes from.
Yeah, man.
That was a thought process with Kenny Pickett too.
Yeah.
And we see how that turned out. And I'm not saying that
Second
all
time's
of
the
them are the
charm.
same player. I'm not saying that they're the same player. It's just the same. It's the argument to be made.
No, totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, no,
I could understand the thought process of it. Like if I really sat down and I had a chance to calm down and my blood pressure came back down, I could start to see, where they were coming from with it. But ultimately, I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made about the value at 21 for Simpson. In that scenario, if they're really thinking Simpson, they got to trade down, if you ask me. But like I said, yeah, quarterback is absolutely a need. The report came out today, actually, Q, that Aaron Rodgers still hasn't decided if he's coming back, and he's not going to give him an answer before the draft. I still think that's a smokescreen, but I guess we'll see.
Wait, so you traded your pick up,
And I traded it, so the Cowboys have this one for me.
yeah.
And I have the Cowboys at this point taking Sadiq. And I have them flipping him to a receiver, that kind of hybrid like you talked about him being,
Yeah, like
with CeeDee Lamb, Pickens. And I think that would be treacherous. And then Ferguson, that would be Dak Prescott would have the rich get richer for sure. I can't think of another phrase.
I went with Omar Cooper Jr. to the Steelers. I went with Omar Cooper Jr. I
And I
think,
totally see that one too.
yeah, with this, it's like,
Yeah.
guy doesn't have to play outside. You got two guys in Pittman and DK that play outside. You probably want to put Pittman in the slot too because it's awesome there too. But they can be interchangeable. Like you can have Cooper do the gadgety things, but like he's the guy that can be a nice target hog in terms of being in the Pittsburgh offense because you'll have much more bigger physical receivers that are dealing with the outside stuff. I don't know if Cooper's going to be able to deal with all that stuff. He's a tier 3 receiver for me. I like him, but a little lower. But if you had to have an easy environment to learn and develop in, this is it. You know what I mean? If he's a giant Luther Burden to me, this is the giant Luther spot.
Definitely like a great scenario 21 for them. If you ask me as a fan, sometimes the boring pick is the right pick. And I know a lot of people mock Cooper. I mean, a lot of my mocks, Cooper ends up being right there, and it just makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I totally understand the thought process with that.
No, I feel you. I definitely feel you.
Yeah. No, 100%. I could definitely see that. I was really close to putting Cooper as well, if I'm being completely honest with you. But I don't know. Just wanted to hurt somebody today.
Shows violence.
Yeah, dude. Well, with that being said, let's get to the Chargers, number 22 here. You guys have.
This is where I go boring and I go with the consensus. I go Caden Proctor here. A lot of people mock him here, and rightfully so. It's just a position of need. And at this point in my draft, especially, there has been a tackle run. So that is, at that position, the best available guy, in my opinion, for what they need specifically. So that's why I go with Proctor here.
What about you, Q?
I went Caden McDonald, honestly. I think they really do kind of need a little bit more of a viciousness coming off that line, and I think he really helps us a lot with the pass protection especially. So I also just do think this is about as low as he can go. You know what I mean? Without getting scooped up. So that was mine. Yeah.
No, I see it for sure. I like Tier Tartan they have, and I like Jamari Caldwell, their 2 tackles. But I can see how if you add them into here, it's a lot more versatility. Just more guys, more beef up front. I get it. Number 22, I also went Proctor. I actually know that it could be a consensus. It just kind of made sense to me because I would make him a guard. That's not a tackle to me, man. That's not a tackle. That's a guard. And I would absolutely fit him in because God knows who they have running that guard.
Yeah, anybody, please.
Like they made a big deal out of it. They're like, oh my God, but if you get Joe Alt, if you get Rashawn Slater, he'll be so good. You get these franchise tackles. It's like, okay, they get hurt all the time and their guards suck. So like I get it, but this clearly was not the ironing of the O-line as it should have been, as great as those 2 players are. There's middle ground guys that are not great. And I think if you get a guard like Proctor, that makes sense. That works out. So I do.
Yeah, best case scenario, all 3 of them are playing at the same time. Like,
he
has all the time in the world.
Yeah, if you get all 3 of them going at the same time, man, like that's great. But yeah, that's where I went with that. With Philly, 23, this will be a fun conversation. What about you guys?
I went with Kenyon Sadiq, actually. I think they've got a little bit of the mobility to kind of go a little bit. Obviously, I think he's always going to be a productive player, but I think they can go a little bit more boomer bust. You know what I mean? Just try and take a chance on a premier guy, and I think why not go with a guy with Kenyon Sadiq? I think he has all kind of the tools to develop in the right player, and I also think the Eagles have all the tools to develop him into the right player. So I think it's a good fit, and I also do think with AJ Brown leaving, possibly, most likely, there is that question to be asked: do you put him in at the receiver spot? So I think he can fill a lot of needs while also just being a really productive player. So 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Shane?
I have them going Omar Cooper Jr. here. I think he comes in and he fills an immediate need, and he's probably a little bit more willing to do so than maybe some other people that are currently on the team that probably won't be after June 1st.
You're not talking about my GOAT, are you? You're not talking about my GOAT, AJ Brown, right?
No, I might be talking about your GOAT, AJ Brown, right now.
My almost GOAT? Yeah. Hey, he's all right. It's all right. He's going to be the Randy Moss to Drake Mays Tom Brady. I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a lethal combo.
It would. Speaking of which, I went receiver 2. I went with an offensive weapon. I went Concepcion. Here. I think the upside of that is if Smith is going to have this high-level year for you, Smith will just break out, and you let Concepcion be a superstar wide receiver 2, maybe even become like around that same tier. I think it's such good value for them. I hate it.
I think that is a great pick, honestly.
Yeah.
I think he is one of those guys that would he functions so well as like a high level 2 kind of guy.
How we
Like,
did it again, boys.
Yeah, dude. And then we're gonna be like, how did you fall to them? But it's like because we were all dumb about because we were all dumb about Concepcion and the drop issue, man. Like we were all dumb. Like, but that's where I went with it. You guys want to move to the Browns here?
Yeah, definitely.
Who would you guys pick? Who would you guys pick first?
I went with trenches here, so I went Lomu right here at 24. I felt like that was fair value, but also like a position of need for them. You know, and it never hurts to build the trenches, especially as they try to figure out if they have their franchise guy or if they need to continue to find their franchise guy. You might as well build the trenches in the meantime, give whoever's back there the best chance.
Yes, definitely. What about you, Q?
This is where I went Omar Cooper, actually. I think it's always good to add a little bit to that receiver cord, and I think they're in kind of a will they, won't they position with a lot of quarterbacks in this draft, so it's always good to kind of add a little bit more. So, yeah.
Interesting choices. Lomu did not go in my first round. I don't dislike Lomu. I just think he's part of
Didn't
that
go in
tackle.
mine either.
Yeah, he's part of that tackle group that's just going to fall to day 2, and I just didn't love him as much as I love Fano.
I mean, I think that's fair, guys. I just, I think it's definitely possible. I don't think it's like dumbfounded to think, late 20s, he's right there. Someone goes for it.
Yeah.
No,
Boston. Boston's my pick for Cleveland here. Denzel Boston. They need a
Oh,
receiver.
Boston?
Yeah,
Okay.
Receiver, ex-receiver, Mike Evans family tree, of the Drake Londons and Tedero McMillans. It fits well. He can be your perimeter receiver guy. You can let Judy do whatever you want in the slot. I think it fits the format that year. It's just what's the quarterback situation? Well, it won't really matter if next year you're picking a quarterback and you've got these weapons. So it's a place to start for love and that's where I went with that. You guys want to go Bears number 25 here?
Yeah. This is one of the more fun ones for me. I went Peter Woods out of Clemson. I think a little bit overvalued at this pick, but I really do like what I've seen from this kid, and I think he can contribute a lot to this line especially. And I think really liked the Bears defense last year. I think they were a great turnover kind of
push.
Yeah, caused a lot of
A
turnovers.
little boomer
But I
bust
think
for sure.
Yeah, and I think they could use some solidifying. And I think Woods does that, especially on like the pass rushing kind of side of things. So yeah, I think it's a really good spot for him.
Yeah, I like that spot a lot. What about you, Shane?
I have the Bears taking defensive tackle as well. I have them going Caden McDonald here,
Nice.
who is that's my DT1 in this draft.
Same as well. I like that a lot. Like we had said about McDonald, I don't think he has like a highest ceiling, but he has a great floor. Great, just really, really good defensive tackle.
Exactly. Comes into a team that's ready to win now, and he's going to contribute right away. Like it's a best case scenario for both sides.
Definitely. I end up going the Toledo boy, Emmanuel McNeil Warren.
Okay.
They lose Brisker,
Action.
and so by that point, it's like, all right, how do you fill in that role? They also lost Byard. I want a ball hawk guy with Toledo's Mr. McNeil Warren. I like this pick a lot. I think that they need a safety bad after losing those two guys, especially a ball hawk guy with how many times they were turning over the ball. I like Warren here. I think he fits him. The thing I want to bring up that's a nitpick I have about Warren is, have you noticed, if you ever watch him, every time he goes to the ball or he's going to do something, he does these little ticks where he'll like move his mouth guard or he'll like readjust his helmet. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And he'll be like a beat off from something. And I'm like, I almost think these little like things he's doing where he like readjusts his shirt, readjusts his helmet as the ball snaps. He's like a tick off from. It's a minor nitpick, but I swear to God, I see him do it all the time.
It could be like a timing thing for him. You know what I mean? Some people just have like weird body clocks and stuff like that.
It's possible, but he gets like a slight tick off from things because of it. And I wonder if it's just like a
maybe,
fidgety.
maybe.
But that's, I don't know. It's like a weird thing I've always noticed with him. But yeah, I think we all kind of
We
went
just
defense.
cost him the first round. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, we all went defensive here. You guys went defensive tackle. Makes complete sense. With that being said about Caden McDonald, Bills number 26, I went Caden McDonald. I think it checks out super well. Like we said, aggressive, very feisty. I don't think it's a high ceiling. I don't think it needs to. I like that they have Dion Walker on this team. Had a good year last year. They have a lot of developmental pieces they want to see more from. Landon Jackson had a bad year last year. So I want to see if he can bring anything to the table. But it's a great front leader, man. That see what the rest of the guys can become. So that's where I went with that.
Yeah, it feels like that defense has really fallen off a little bit from the past few years. So it does make sense to just bring in like a solid, stable kind of guy who will be what you need. So yeah,
for sure, absolutely.
But I picked CJ Allen. Actually, I know there's a lot of controversy around this kid, but I just don't think that the Bills have a solid linebacker presence whatsoever, honestly. And I figure this is the time to maybe even take a little bit of a risk, but I think CJ Allen can definitely kind of bring that.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
That's a really good pick.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that makes complete sense. I don't have Allen in my first round, but it makes sense. This totally makes sense.
I have Zion Young here.
Oh, okay.
I go edge, so I also go defense.
Okay. Okay. Zion Young. Yeah.
I just think, based on where they're at, as a team, and like, the clear weaknesses on the defensive side, like you said, falling off, and ultimately, I feel like a little slow on that side of the ball. So I think that there needs to be something done there. I think it starts with this draft. I can't off the top of my head remember how their free agency went, but they have to have a good draft here. I feel like their GM has to have a good draft.
Yes, absolutely, desperately here, and that completely makes sense to me. I think that fits pick wise. Now with the 49ers, where'd you guys go?
I had some issues with this pick, actually. I don't know. I kind of wanted to give them like a premier guy, but I actually kind of fell in love with Blake Miller the more I watched this film.
I went Blake Miller as well.
Oh,
funny enough.
Yeah. No,
I went trenches for them.
Yeah,
Sweet.
really good trench presence. I think he brings a bit of physicality. I think he's a really, really solid pickup with a pretty high ceiling, not a lot of low fall. So yeah, I think
Sick.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. I think that's great. I ended up going with this Max Yanachor, Arizona State tackle. The reason why, future tackle, kind of like what you guys were talking about, I like Yanachor a lot. But also, I think he can play guard. I think he can play guard until Trent Williams eventually retires. Like, I really do think so. So that versatility is very important in terms of this kind of area. I like the thinking of Blake Miller here, though. That's very cool. I just like Yanachor more, and I see him as more of a solidified tackle. With that being said, though, Texans at number 28, that's prime Blake Miller spot, baby. That's what I went with them. Yeah. Yeah, I went with Blake Miller here. Like you said, I think he's great. I think he can play guard, which is the great part. I think there's a lot of versatility with him. He's a guy that I could see going late round, which is crazy. But if he's in the first round, I'm taking it there. I think it's the perfect spot.
Had the exact same thinking, and I'm honestly surprised that he slid a little bit down, but I put Caden Proctor at this level. I think if you're still going to bank on CJ Stroud, you need to ramp up that protection desperately, I think just interceptions and everything, it's led to a lot of chaos among that team, and I think getting a solid good tackle at that position will prevent a lot of that. So, yeah, that's where I'm going.
Do you see him as tackle or guard?
I think that's really hard. I think he almost has that hybrid thing to him, but I think because of his size, I think I could see him tackle.
Okay, interesting. I struggle with him balance-wise at tackle, but I love him as a Texan. Interesting. Okay. Shane, did you say yours?
No, but I also went trenches just on the opposite side. I go Peter Woods here because he's still on my board, and I think that he comes in again, instant contribution. But a lot of the questions will be answered right away as well with Peter Woods, and I think that Ryans is going to be the guy that gets the most out of him, out of any team, that I'm looking at here in the late first round.
100%. I'm a little bit worried about how this last year went for him, but I agree. If he's going to work out anyway, Houston makes sense completely. Totally makes sense. Chiefs at 29. I'm gonna low-key go first here. Chris Johnson. Yeah, Chris Johnson to the Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah, so I obviously think it's a concern that they got rid of both Jalen Watson and Trent McDuffie. That is a big concern. They have no presence secondary-wise. Part of me also wondered if Caleb Downs in that range in terms of like the number 9 pick. But since that's not the case, Chris Johnson as a corner, I love. I worry a little bit about man coverage stuff because I think he's very much like a magnet when he comes back to players. Like sometimes he gets beat, but he's so great at recovering. He's just right back over there, and it's awesome. But I think that's a lot more important for zone coverage than it is man. I think in man, a great quarterback is going to be able to take advantage of those little hiccups of space of when he loses. And it's not a big deal because he is really good at recovering, but it is a concern. With that being said, though, I love him in his Spags. That's like I think that's like I think it's perfect. What did you guys go with?
I go Denzel Boston here. I think that he doesn't fall further than 29 in my mock because of the rich getting richer approach. Having that kind of a threat from Mahomes, I think he would be a headache. And again, we talk about like, oh, how'd this guy get there? I think that would be one of those picks people look back on like, how did this happen?
It's funny too because you're lower on Boston, man.
I think that, if he's going to go to a team and really succeed right out the gate, it's going to be somewhere like, Kansas City.
For sure. What about you, Q?
I was actually in a toss-up as well with Denzel and KC. Honestly, I think for me, KC stands out a little bit more as a wide receiver 1 than Boston did, and that's kind of what led me to go that route, But I think it's the same thing you said. I think it's really the rich get richer, honestly. And I think with a team like KC, you can kind of work with those drops a little bit just because you have such a talented quarterback in Mahomes who will kind of place the football where it needs to be, So you will find out fast whether this kid is legit or not. But
yeah,
I like it a lot for them.
Is it his ball or has it been bad ball luck?
Yeah, exactly. It's a big upgrade from Marcel Reed. So I think it is a rich get richer kind of situation for them, but I really do like KC with a team like the Chiefs. So yeah,
I like that a lot. Next up here, we got the Dolphins at 40. I went Colton Hood here. The reason why is because I think he's awesome in man coverage. I worry about him in zone coverage, and that is the reason that he's not a higher pick to me. That's the reason that I'm not like, get him top 15, like I might be with like Neil Warren or something like that at safety. I do worry about the zone coverage things, but I do think he has such awesome hip fluidity as a man coverage guy that like I just think it's worth it at this spot. Like, why not? You have no great corners. Like at this, like he would be your best corner instantly. Like even with flaws. So that's where I'm going here.
I like that pick a lot, actually.
Definitely.
Yeah. For the Dolphins, I went Boston, actually. I think, honestly, I love Boston as a fit for any team right now. I think he may be a better wide receiver too, but, like, you need a wide receiver at this point,
For
So
sure.
I think that's just kind of the most obvious fit for them. I think you can make it work, and I think it just works out.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Shane.
Now, if you guys recall, this pick was traded to Arizona. So this is now Arizona in my draft. Arizona goes quarterback here. They get Ty Simpson, Alabama, and they start their build that way.
Yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
And then remember, I have all those picks on the back end, second, third round, that they're going to really start attacking and building around. And they start a little bit quicker than the Dolphins.
I will say, vision-wise, for what you were trying to do with that trade, that makes sense for Arizona to try to chase. I do see that. I do 100% see that. Interesting spot for them to try it. I see 30 being the spot they would try it at. So makes sense.
I hurt you as a Pittsburgh fan. You hurt me as a Dolphins fan. I hope you know that.
Fair enough.
Picks away. Yeah.
That's something they would do too, which is the way
it would. It would be. So Patriots number 31 here. I want Peter Woods. I think if he's going to fall, this is
okay.
Like we said, I think incredible defensive tackle. But thought this year was really concerning, like both from a like mental standpoint of like seemed pretty tapped out, and also just a physicality standpoint. Like, I was very concerned after this year, but if you had to have a spot, I like 30.
I like Cassius Howell a lot here, honestly. I think it's like the right amount of reaching a little bit, where it's just one of those guys that has like a huge kind of upside. And if you add that to an already kind of stacked defense, in my opinion, I think you're going to do really, really well, especially in, the offenses of the AFC East. So, yeah, I think this is really, really the right move for them. Also in connection to his talent level. So yeah, I like this a lot here.
I see the vision there. Like I'm not taking Howell in the first, but I get it if it's at like New England.
Howell's also not in my first round, but I did go edge here. I go Falk.
Nice.
Pretty much for the same reasons that Q went, and it's just Vrabel's gonna create a monster there, and it's again a scenario of like pick your poison, right?
Dude, absolutely. I like that pick a lot, honestly. With number 32, yeah, I went Keldrick Falk. No, I'm playing. No, Malachi Lawrence. We went Malachi Lawrence, the GOAT, demon, the man, the boy kid. Number 32 here. I think you should go higher than this by a lot. He is my edge 3. There's part of me that would argue he's edge 2. Like he would never be a better edge than like Luis or Bain for me. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut, but he'd be the same tier as Bailey. I'm keeping my mouth shut, but I think Lawrence would be instantly their best edge rusher. I think he would be maximizing that Seattle defense incredibly. Like, this would be unbelievable. So that's what I think of him. So like I said before, I'm very, very high on Lawrence, and I'm gonna stay that high on him.
Yeah, I think this pick is pretty straightforward to me, honestly. You lost Rick Woolen over the offseason, so I think you just go and grab cornerback, honestly. And I forget the name of him exactly, but there was the guy out of South Carolina, Stizzy, who I was really close to. But I was really close to Stizzy, but I was really blown away by Chris Johnson. His film and his tape really swept me, and I was like, yeah, I think you just go and get it. But I think that's the mark of a great team, just stubbing in that slot. So, yeah, no, I really like him there.
That's great value for Johnson, I think. I mean, because he's going to be, like, at the latest pick 35, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. I think
that's in my draft, cornerback took a back seat for a little bit, so Avion Terrell's available, and they take him.
Okay, yeah.
Nice.
That makes sense.
Nice. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's our board, man. Just a quick question for you guys: who are guys that maybe one of us picked that like you guys did that just slipped to the second round?
Cassius Howell. I feel like I understand where Q's coming from with that, but for me, I think that the conversation for him starts round 2.
Yeah,
Caleb Banks to be made later.
Caleb Banks is going first.
Yeah,
that's a crazy pick. That's the most interesting one. That's the interesting one.
I think Terrell, for me, was just a guy who kind of slipped down a little bit. I think fully capable, but there was just a little bit I liked more from guys like McCoy and Johnson and Delane. Like, I just think he didn't quite make it. Also, obviously, the safety from Oregon. I do got to give my praises to that kid because, need some white boys in there. But he was, Also, I just, if there was one person I could add, I think I was also kind of close to maybe putting Bell in Seattle as well. I thought that was also a pretty good value pick,
Interesting.
But yeah, there was a few guys.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's our mock draft right there. I do think that this is going to be interesting because this is our first video, so this is going to get almost like 0 views. But the idea, that's just how it goes on YouTube. This is how it goes. But
real
here is put your stamp on how you feel already. You know what I mean? Like the quicker you get that out, the quicker you can be like, I told you. You know what I mean? The quicker you can told you so when it comes to
one question though, just based on your own draft, who do you think are the winners and losers of the first round?
Am I biased for saying New York? Yeah, I'd be that biased because of that. If I didn't say that, I'm probably going to think any team with 2 picks. I think there's something interesting to do with Arizona, Shane. Outside of that, I don't know. Cleveland, Boston, and Freeling. There's a vision.
there's a physicality vision there, so I don't think that's bad. Outside of that, New York, yeah, like kinda, but they also have 2 top 10 picks, so they should. So it's like low bar. Outside of that, I don't know, man. I think Lawrence at 32 is really good value. I think Fano at 17 is really good value. I think,
Definitely.
Yeah, Warren to Bears. I really like this stuff. What about you guys?
Yeah.
I would say in my mock, the Cowboys definitely went out with everything that they're able to do. McNeil, Warren, Sadiq, and Alex Highsmith all in a night would be pretty great value.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
And then I also think the Seahawks are a winner if Avion Terrell falls to 32.
Yeah, I think so. I think just the way the draft is situated, they're gonna have a lot of value they can choose from at that spot.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think they will. What I think is the real winner, which is really scary to think about, are the Chiefs, honestly. Like the fact that they have like a lot, they're going to basically have a top 10 peak, and then there just tends to be a lot of value towards the end of people that get missed. So that, and then I think of course New York, honestly. I think they're going to win that trade inevitably. So, yeah.
Did you say unfortunately New York?
I said unfortunately for everybody else.
Yeah, okay, I was going to say unfortunately New York, but yeah, no, I mean, I think Chiefs are very much sleepers in terms of what they can do here value wise. But yeah, I mean, I think that's wrong. I think especially for this VR Force pick, I think it's important because it helps kind of establish where we're at mindset wise with this class and what teams are going to try to do to build. So I think when it comes to like off-season grades and like draft grades after the draft, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out because I think there's so many ways it's going to go, especially for later rounds. Like we haven't really gotten into how we feel about later rounds, but I'm sure we'll throw something out there once in a while.
Oh yeah, well we'll have some grades to throw around here.
Yeah, we will. We really, really will. But yeah, man. I mean, I think that's basically it right there. Like, you know, I think outside of anything truly crazy, regarding Caleb Banks or Ty Simpson, I feel like we kind of hit still like generally the same area. I think Lawrence is probably getting more hype as time goes on as well, like I said. But we'll see about that as well. That could change. But yeah, man. I don't know if you guys have any final notes about anything. I'm excited. I think it's the first time in a while that you really don't know what's going to go on with this draft.
It'll be a fun draft. I think there's going to be a lot more trades than people think.
I think so too. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah, absolutely.
How many involved players that are like currently playing versus like future assets, which no one wants to give up right now in this draft class.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
I'm really curious about how this wide receiver class is going to age.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of range there. And a lot of people are just really capable of different things. So yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. But yeah, I think with that, we'll probably get out of here. Feel free to like and subscribe, guys. We got a little button, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, we're gonna have a lot more coverage going on after the draft, doing like grades, all that kind of stuff. But not only just about the actual class themselves, but also off-season moves. So that's gonna include free agency, include any trades that go on pre or post draft, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you can't say much about any late trades that might happen towards the summer. We'll talk about that as we get to it, but like for now, that's going to be it. We'll probably give our take to that certain like second round as time goes on, but yeah, that's going to be it, man. I don't know if you guys have anything else.
No, I think I'm pretty much good right now.
Perfect. Awesome. We'll be seeing you guys.
All right. Take care.